Chapter 895. The cold moon hung high in the sky, and the night was as cold as water. On Mount Shumi, thousands of young Buddhist monks in white sat cross-legged, chanting sutras. On the Buddha platform, Heavenly Buddha Lord sat quietly, cultivating day after day. The appearance of the demon palace, 3 consecutive battles, and the Buddha nation suffered heavy losses. 2 Buddha lords died in battle, and the Buddha nation was in a precarious situation. After 30,000 years, Heavenly Buddha Lord opened the Buddha mountain again, cultivating day and night to reverse the decline of the war between the Buddha and the demon palace. For 10 days and 10 nights, the Buddha mountain was unusually quiet. In the distance, 3,000 miles away, the demon palace's army was stationed, and no one knew when they would attack again. At this moment, above the void, a white-clothed figure descended from the sky, his white hair fluttering in the wind. It was dazzling. Seeing the newcomer, the Buddhist cultivators on the Buddha mountain were surprised. The 9th son of the Mo clan. Why was he here at this time? You're here. On the Buddha platform, Heavenly Buddha Lord opened his eyes and said, "Sorry I'm late." Ningchen stepped forward and bowed respectfully. "It's good that you're here, it's never too late." Heavenly Buddha Lord smiled benevolently and said, "I am indebted to the Buddha mountain. Now that the Buddha mountain is in trouble, I will not stand by and do nothing." Ningchen said respectfully, "Benefactor, it's good that you have such intentions. The demon palace is too powerful, and the situation is difficult to reverse. Benefactor, you should leave the heavens to avoid the demon palace." Heavenly Buddha Lord said softly, "Thank you for your kindness, Buddha Lord, but no matter what, I cannot sit by and watch the Buddha mountain in trouble. Please wait for a moment, I will be back soon." After saying that, Ningchen did not delay any longer, and turned to walk out of the Buddha mountain. After a few steps, the white-clothed figure disappeared from the Buddha mountain. Heavenly Buddha Lord looked at the direction where Ningchen left. A strange light flashed in his eyes. What was he going to do? Was he going to fight against the demon palace's army alone? 3,000 miles to the west of the Buddha mountain, a cold wind blew, and dust flew. In front of the demon palace's army stationed 100 miles away, Sword Chi suddenly rose and fell from the sky without warning. "Who is it?" Bai Wangran was the first to feel it, and his expression froze. "The one who will kill you." As he spoke, a white-haired figure in plain clothes walked over from afar. The sword in his hand flickered, and he did not hide his killing intent at all. The 9th son of Mo Gate. It was a familiar figure and a familiar blade. Bai Wangran's expression turned cold. He waved his hand and 9 wind pearls appeared around him. Immediately, the wind howled and the sand was swept up. "Demonic body, come with me." As soon as he finished speaking, demonic chi surged. A black figure appeared behind Ningchen, holding scarlet drill in his hand. 2 figures appeared, and in an instant 2 figures flashed past at high speed. Black and white streams of light flowed, and the sword light opened up the road to hell again. With a thump, Genesis Supreme and the 9 wheels wind pearl collided. Sword light and wind devoured each other, and the Book of Life pushed them even further. At the same time, the demonic body passed by. It didn't participate in the battle. The crimson drill weapon's baleful aura flourished, using a demon to kill a demon. Before they could react, the sword light flashed by and the heads of the demon army flew into the air. Blood gushed out and dyed the cold night red. Bai Wangran's expression darkened when he sensed the former's intention. He turned his palm around and slapped out, intending to get rid of the person before him as soon as possible. Ningchen's figure was like an illusion as he evaded wave after wave of palm strikes. The Taisher sword chi in his hand continued to condense, accumulating power for an ultimate move. The 9th son of Maha's sect. "Do you only know such little tricks?" Bai Wangran said with a mocking expression after several moves missed. Ningchen's expression didn't change. He still focused on dragging out the battle, ignoring him. The sword and palm collided. Once they touched, they immediately retreated. Once they focused again, the wind and clouds on the sword changed. Nirvana was born, and thousands of sword chi surged. Bai Wangran focused and dodged instantly. 100 feet away, vital energy gathered, and the wind blocked the sword chi. With a few rumbles, the sword chi and the wind dissipated, devouring each other. the second guardian of the demon palace. Do you only know such little tricks? Returning the original words, Ning Chen didn't hide his sarcasm at all. His figure flashed out again, and the famous sword of Taoism shone dazzlingly. Bai Wangran's expression was cold. He turned his palm to block the sword, and his other hand secretly condensed vital energy. The wind pearl coiled, and its power became more and more terrifying. The ninth son of Ma's sect. You will pay the cruelest price for your words and actions. Bai Wangran had gathered enough vital energy, and his famous move appeared again. Bai Wangran shouted, and the wind and thunder shocked the world. Long wind riding qi. Extreme power descended, and his words became law. In the wind, his white robe fluttered, and his palm fell into the sea. Sky breaking. When the sword collided, Ning Chen's figure quickly retreated. With a rumble, the wind destroyed the sword light, and the sword light continued to sweep over. 100 feet, 100 feet, and the wind followed. The palm power was hidden, and it wanted to destroy the body of the martial artist. Ning Chen turned his palm, and the dark yellow light became extremely bright. The ground within 100 miles shook, and the mountain peak was uprooted. With a loud rumble, the wind shook the mountain peak. In the violent shaking, the mountain peak collapsed, and the wind gradually weakened. Scroll of Earth, 1,000 turns of earth. With a soft shout, the heavenly book martial art appeared again. Ning Chen stepped on the ground, and cracks appeared on the ground. They folded up from the middle, and then closed up. Bai Wangran's figure dodged, but it was 100 miles wide, and he couldn't avoid it. With a rumble, he sank into the mountain. A powerful swordsman, you make me want to destroy you even more. In the folded ground, Bai Wangran shouted, and the 9-wheel wind pearls around him revealed their demonic power. Black clouds overflowed, and the yin and yang shook the world. Thunder roared from the 9 heavens, and a black wind descended from the sky. The shocking power shook the world. Under the wind, Ning Chen stared, and he already felt the pressure before the attack arrived. Scroll of Earth, Earth destruction and mountain destruction. The Scroll of Earth was activated again. In Ning Chen's hand, Taisher entered the ground. Suddenly, thousands of sword light soared into the sky, rumbling and shaking, and rushed into the wind. The extreme collision sunk thousands of miles, and the mountain rocks flew and fell from the sky. For a moment, the demonic army behind screamed, and there were many casualties. Demonic prairie fire. In the army of tens of thousands, the demonic body was burning with flames. The sword light slashed, and broken limbs flew everywhere. It was a naked massacre, like the god of death. The demonic cultivator was merciless, and he didn't hold back at all. Every time he waved his sword, a large number of demonic soldiers fell. In the 2 battles, Knowing Destiny used all his strength to return the favor of Buddha Mountain, and to confuse the demonic palace. After a few minutes, blood stained the ground 3,000 miles away from Buddha Mountain. Thousands of demonic soldiers had fallen, and as far as the eye could see, there were corpses. In front of the demonic army, the battle between the 2 experts was even more intense. Bai Wangran's killing intent sword. Although he knew the former's goal, he couldn't get away. The light of the Taoist sword became brighter and brighter. Ning Chen turned into his battle intent, and with a sword in his hand, he stopped the demonic cultivator from helping the army behind. 9th son of Ma's sect, the demonic palace has no grudge against you. Today, what you did will make you regret it for the rest of your life. Bai Wangran raised his palm to control the wind, and the wind swept, and the sand rushed. The top experts of the demonic palace were all shown. Repay kindness with kindness, and pay grudges with grudges. Knowing Destiny, I never regret. With a palm, the ground shook. Taisher in Ning Chen's hand used his vital energy again, and ice froze thousands of miles. Bai Wangran turned his palm to block the attack. With a tremor, he took a step forward, and his palm condensed into a gust of wind, pressing toward Ning Chen's chest. Ning Chen held his sword horizontally, and with a bang, his body slid 1,000 feet away. Then he stood still and slashed with his sword, counterattacking strongly. Move for move, move for move. The 2 figures continued to exchange powerful moves, and it was very intense. Behind them, the demonic cultivators were killing. Flames filled the sky, and red drill was dyed red. Blood splattered, and broken limbs danced. On Buddha Mountain, Heavenly Buddha Lord looked at the battle in the distance, and his old eyes flashed with a complicated expression. This man had enough karma, and after this battle, it would be even harder to wash it away. In this world, people were always helpless. In his opinion, this child's heart still retained its initial benevolence. However, his hands were already stained with blood. 100,000, 1,000,000, countless. Perhaps it would continue to increase. 6 paths fall together. Thousands of demonic tribulations. Taishang Forbidden Sword. Among the tens of thousands of demonic soldiers, the demonic cultivators suddenly stopped. Red drill in their hands flew across the sky, and an indescribable sword pressure swept out. In an instant, endless sword light intersected and rushed into the 9 heavens. In an instant, the phoenix fire burned around the demonic cultivators. The phoenix demon appeared at the same time, and a forbidden move was born. Demonic Phoenix's catastrophe. The demonic phoenix appeared, and the world was shocked. The black phoenix appeared in the world, and in an instant, a strong wind blew, and dark clouds surged. Oh no! In front of the demonic army, Bai Wangran felt it, and his expression changed. He turned his palm, and pushed away the opponent in front of him. He took a step and rushed to the sky, trying to stop the forbidden sword from being born. You can't save them. As soon as she finished speaking, the white-clothed figure rose from the ground, and a snow-white long blade appeared in her hand. She slashed with the blade, and blue light shone. With a bang, she put her palms together and blocked the blade. Bai Wangran's forward momentum was blocked, and it was too late for him to help. But above the 9 heavens, the demonic phoenix flapped its wings. In an instant, endless black sword light broke through the sky, and with the power to destroy the world, it fell 1,000 miles. In the next moment, a shocking scene occurred. The black sword light fell, and wherever it passed, cracks appeared in the space. On the ground, the sword light penetrated the bodies, and the destructive power continued to move forward, silently sinking into the ground. In an instant, a waterfall of blood did not have time to explode, and the tens of thousands of demonic soldiers were turned into ashes. You're courting death. Bai Wangran dodged the black sword light, and looked at the demonic army that was half dead. His face was filled with murderous intent. He turned his palm and condensed chi, and the Avicii Hell Palace appeared again, turning into a huge palace that suppressed the person in front of him. That's it for today, goodbye. The plan was completed, and Ningchen did not want to fight for a long time. He waved his sword and blade, and made 2 moves in a row. Then he took a step and left. Not far away, the demonic cultivator's figure also flashed and disappeared into the night. In the void, the brilliance of the sword and blade approached. Bai Wangran turned his palm to block it. He looked at the figure that disappeared into the distance. It was too late to give chase. With a wave of his hand, the Avicii Hell Palace returned to its 3-inch size and fell into his hand. Bai Wangran's figure descended from the sky, and his gaze swept across the army that had suffered heavy casualties. The murderous intent in his eyes became more and more difficult to suppress. 3,000 miles away, on top of Buddha Mountain, a white-clothed figure descended from the sky, and the smell of blood still lingered. It was so clear in this pure land of Buddhism. Buddha Lord, I have done my best. After this battle, the army of the East Demon Palace will not attack Buddha Mountain in a short time. Buddha Lord, you can rest assured for the time being. In the void, Ningchen looked tired. Thank you for your help. Heavenly Buddha Lord said seriously. Buddha Lord, you are welcome. This is what I should do. I still have other things to do, so I will not disturb you. See you again. As soon as he finished speaking, in the void, Ningchen's figure faded, and a moment later he disappeared. Chapter 896. Devil Palace. Jie Tian stood in the majestic palace. In front of him, a white-clothed figure was half-kneeling as he reported the losses of the battle. Moazam's 9th son. Jie Tian's eyes flashed with a strange light. If this child was not eliminated, he would become a disaster. You may leave. Rest for now and wait for my orders, said Jie Tian. Yes. Bai Wangran respectfully accepted the order, and his figure dispersed, disappearing without a trace. After Bai Wangren left, Jie Tian's pondered for a moment. He looked at the darkness of the palace and said calmly, "Did you hear that? Go and take care of him. I will have Moonweaver help you." In the darkness, a beautiful figure silently accepted the order and disappeared in an instant. In the starry sky, a white-clothed figure flew past. After traveling for half a day, she stopped. With a wave of her hand, a dim light filled the sky. The heavenly book appeared and the chaos scroll appeared. It distorted space and devoured starlight. With a shout, Ningchen fully activated the chaos scroll. He relied on the connection between the heavenly books to find the whereabouts of the light scroll. The two scrolls restrained each other. One was bright and the other was chaotic. They were born to oppose each other and could not coexist. The moment the chaos scroll appeared, the Dawn Moon House's master stopped and looked back at the starry sky on a large star far away in the boundless space. The knowledge Marquis. She took a step forward and her figure disappeared. She rushed towards the distant starry sky. In the All-Heaven Starfield's northern army, the Moonweaver, who had just stopped fighting for several days, suddenly stopped and bowed respectfully. "Saint Arbiter." A blue-clothed figure appeared in the sky. Looking at the person before her, she said, "Moazam's ninth son has appeared. It's time for you to act." As she spoke, a black pearl surrounded by demonic aura flew out and silently landed before her. "Take it. Before Moazam's ninth son leaves the Buddha kingdom, it will help you find his whereabouts," said Jie Tian's calmly. "Yes," said Moonweaver respectfully. "Remember, you cannot fail this time." After saying that, Jie Tian's figure dissipated. In an instant he disappeared. In the boundless starry sky, the white-clothed figure waited for an entire day without leaving. The sky was filled with stars, adorning the starry sky. It was so beautiful. However, the more beautiful something was, the more murderous it was. Every place that couldn't be seen, collapsed stars erupted with dazzling radiance, swallowing everything in the surroundings, including light. Jiming Marquis. A day later, a figure in a silver-gray cloak appeared in the distance and walked over. Tower Master. When they met again, there was no coldness like when enemies met, nor was there any warmth like when friends met. The two of them only nodded and greeted each other, just like before. The friendship between gentlemen was as light as water. They weren't friends in the first place. If they had to talk about it, they were at most business partners who had made a few deals. Jiming Marquis, what brings you here? The Dawn Moon House master smiled. "Let's make a deal," Ningchen said calmly. "What deal?" The Dawn Moon brothel master asked. "I know that the Tower Master is now standing on the side of the Devil Palace. I have no right to interfere in this matter. I only wish to discuss with the Tower Master about the Underworld King's boundary being broken. I hope that the Tower Master will not leak this news," said Ningchen seriously. "If you want to get information from me, you have to pay a corresponding price. This has nothing to do with which side I am on." "Don't worry, Jiming Marquis." The Dawn Moon brothel master nodded. "That's not what I mean. What I'm saying is that no matter what price the Devil Palace or others offer, House Master cannot tell anyone about this," Ningchen said again. Oh. The smile on the Dawn Moon brothel master's face became even wider. "Jiming Marquis wants to buy this information? If so, the price will not be cheap." "Tower Master, please speak," said Ningchen calmly. The Dawn Moon Tower Master thought for a while and said with a smile, "I've always had a question. Back then when I calculated your fate, the heavenly secrets showed that when the immortal tree bore fruit, it would be the day of your death. How did you avoid this calamity?" Ningchen was silent. After a while he said, "My original body is indeed dead. The Immortal Corpse Patrol used the Undying God Tree as the foundation to rebuild my body." The Immortal Corpse Patrol. A strange light flashed in the Dawn Moon brothel master's eyes. She nodded slightly. "So that's how it is. In this world, only the mysterious Immortal Corpse Patrol could change one's fate." "Tower Master, I have answered your question. Can I fulfill my promise?" Ningchen said seriously. "Jiming Marquis, don't worry." The Dawn Moon brothel master nodded. "I will not mention any news about the inner world to anyone." "Thank you." Ningchen cupped his fists. Just as he was about to say something, His expression suddenly froze as he looked into the distance. Someone was coming. The Dawn Moon brothel master also felt the powerful aura coming from behind. Her eyes flashed. It was them. They were really fast. Jiming, Marquis, Moon Weaver and a friend of yours have come. I need to avoid suspicion. See you later. With that, the Dawn Moon brothel master took a step and disappeared. After the former left, Ning Chen's eyes narrowed slightly. He did not want to trouble himself and prepared to leave as well. Suddenly, Ning Chen paused and turned around to look at the two people rushing over from the distance. Beside the woman holding the red umbrella was a woman in a blue dress with blood-red hair. Her familiar beautiful face made one unable to look away. Senior Sister Dai. Her appearance had not changed, but her aura was completely unrecognizable. Ning Chen was shocked and did not understand why it had become like this. The red umbrella was put away and the seal was released. The demonic mark appeared on Moonweaver's forehead. Facing an opponent who was no longer the same as before, she no longer held back and used all her strength. The two people attacking from the front and back did not say a word as they blocked the person in front of them from retreating. Ning Chen ignored Moonweaver behind him and looked at the woman in the blue dress in front of him. Senior Sister Dai, I am Jiming. Don't you recognize me? There was still no response from her cold and emotionless eyes. Butterfly in the flower clenched her right hand. Black light flowed and a long, black blade appeared. A terrifying aura rose and covered the eyes of the wielder. Now, she is the fourth guardian of the Devil Palace. She is no longer Butterfly in the flower. Behind them, Moonweaver waved her hand and a sword appeared. Demonic chi surged in all directions. This killing situation was different from the previous ones. The Saint of the Devil Palace had set up a trap and attacked Jiming's weakness as much as possible. It was difficult to tell the butterfly and the demon from the sword god. In an instant, Flower Burial's tears streaked across the sky. Ning Chen took half a step back and leaned back to avoid the sword light. Before he could recover, the moon reversal had already arrived. It was ruthless and filled with endless killing intent. With a clang, Taisher appeared and blocked the sword light. However, he felt his body sink and fall. Falling hundreds of feet, the black sword light rushed into the sky and cut through the starry sky, shocking the world. Ning Chen leaned to one side and avoided the sword light. However, he was forced to dodge and reacted a moment too late. With a tearing sound, the cloth on his left arm was torn and blood splattered. Feng Qi's battle hadn't started yet, and Jiming was already injured. Humans weren't plants and their hearts weren't stone. How could they be emotionless? In the Battle of Jiming, they didn't leave any way out for Jiming. The Saint Arbiter is right. You are different from us. Your heart will become your greatest constraint. The sword spun and the moon, and demonic waves surged. The moon reversal in the Moonweaver's hand was full of demonic power. She poured all her cultivation into it. Instantly, the moon demon appeared in the starry sky. Its huge body was hundreds of feet tall and ferocious. The demon figure appeared, and the divine sword slashed through the sky. The sword filled with demonic power split the stars and broke through the sky. Ning Chen focused his mind and Taisher condensed his essence. Wind and snow swept up to meet the sword. When they collided, the sword light flashed. The aftershock roared in all directions and created cracks in the space. With a tearing sound, the sword energy cut through Ning Chen's clothes again, and brought out a waterfall of blood. Coldness flashed in Ning Chen's eyes. Frost gathered on his sword and pushed the former away. Butterfly danced Skynet. After one move, another came. Behind him, the water sleeves intertwined and the Skynet appeared. The blade light was cold. Ning Chen turned his feet and avoided the water sleeves. In danger, he clenched his left hand and Yan Qing appeared. The pure white blade blocked the black blade light. Your blade technique was taught by me. How dare you use it in front of me? It was the first time she spoke, but her voice was so cold that it made people's hearts tremble. Among the intertwining water sleeves, Butterfly and the flower stepped on the water sleeves and slid forward. She held the blade and spun it. In an instant, she suppressed Ning Chen with her blade technique and hit his chest with her palm. Ugh! Blood splashed out and he retreated a few steps. Just as he came back to his senses, the divine sword behind him came again. The murderous intent flowed and took his life. Back off. Unable to suppress his anger, Ningchen turned around and waved his sword. Snow filled the sky and forced the person in front of him back. With the backlash of the divine weapon, Ningchen's body became light and he rose up. Behind him, the water sleeves swept past and a blade appeared in the sleeves. Killing intent rose again. Ningchen leaped and avoided the blade. Heaven Scroll was activated again. The blue light on Nianqing shone brightly. With a backhand slash, he cut open the water sleeves that continued to extend. The blade and sword killing trap, the battle of the heart. There was no heaven above and no earth below. Heaven and earth were controlled. Ice and fire did not exist. The Demon Palace's saint had carefully designed this trap to eliminate the Demon Palace's future potential trouble. Where is the immortal slaying sword? Why don't you use it? There is no earth vein here for you to use. Immortal slaying is useless. If you don't use immortal slaying, wait for someone to collect your corpse. Moonweaver stepped forward and said coldly as she looked at the figure in plain clothes dodging the blade light. Against you, why would I need immortal slaying? With a cold voice, Ning Chen's figure flashed past. His brows furrowed, and Taisher turned. Thousands of sword lights crisscrossed and dazzled the starry sky. Nirvana. Nirvana reappeared. Sword intent boundless. Sword lights tore through the air and swept forward. Extreme Tao Moon God command. As the sword lights arrived, Moonweaver retreated 300 meters. She turned her sword around, and a huge five-pointed star appeared behind her. An instant later, thousands of starlight swept out and met the sword lights. The clash of extreme martial arts created a scene of misery. Amidst the chaotic sword lights, Moonweaver's figure flashed past. Her slender hand gathered energy and slapped toward the former's chest. The cruel killing trap left no path of life. Behind her, black butterflies flew through the sky. Flower burial has tears, demonic butterflies are merciless. And the blade also swept past. In the middle of the two streaks of light, a white-haired figure in plain clothes stood in the air. The sword in his hand constantly hummed, one sound, one sound. Chapter 897. In the starry sky, blades and swords ignited the flames of war. The two demons killed knowing destiny. This was an irreversible killing situation. There was no land below, no sky above, no ice or fire. This was the most extreme killing situation. Knowing destiny's body and mind were completely restrained. The situation was precarious. In the distance, the master of the Dawn Moon Tavern stood quietly in a silver-gray cloak. She looked at the battle in front of her with admiration. The saint of the Demon Palace was indeed extraordinary. This situation was clearly set up to target Marquis knowing destiny. With the butterfly in the flower, knowing destiny had already lost 30% of his power. Coupled with the lack of geographical advantage, no matter how brave and skilled he was in battle, he would not be able to escape death. In the heart-killing situation, blades and swords clashed. The sky and sea were overturned. The inverted water moon showed its divine power, suppressing Taisher's blade. On the other side, the flower burial tier was no longer the same as before. In the 10 moves, danger was everywhere. Blades and swords were both restrained. This unprecedented situation made the already unequal situation even more tilted. In a situation of life and death, how could there be a moment of hesitation? Ning Chen suppressed the grief in his heart and shouted. His true essence surged. Instantly his white hair danced wildly like a demon. 12 swords. The 12 swords reappeared with earth-shattering power. A dazzling sword radiance coiled up. The sword was limitless, only complete sword intent. The shocking sword surpassed the limits of the mortal world. The entire starry sky shook. Wherever the sword intent passed, meteors disintegrated and were completely wiped out. Are you angry? Are you sad? Unfortunately, you can't change all of this. The Moonweaver took a step and retreated 100 feet, avoiding the radiance of the 12 swords. The inverted water moon crossed and pointed at the sword. Immediately, a dark silver demonic wave rolled out. The brilliance of the stars and moon converged. The water moon illuminated the world. This was the ultimate move. The sword moon soared into the sky and an unprecedented pressure swept out. The forbidden move of the Moon Demon clan appeared for the first time. Void Burial of the Moon. The moon burial technique was majestic and unparalleled. It collided with the sword that surpassed the limit. In the rumbling, a sword radiance flashed past. The Moon Weaver grunted and was injured for the first time. On the other side, the white-clothed figure retreated several steps. Vermilion blood spilled out from her mouth. She brandished her sword to the other side, showing mercy in the end. In front of Hua Zhongdia, the sword will dissipated. How could the sword in his hand be merciless when facing the family that had once protected him with life and death? Another palm landed on his chest, and blood splattered across the starry sky. He was right in front of her, but her emotionless eyes no longer had the gentleness of the past. You can't do it? Jiming Marquis, what a tragedy. Behind him, Moon Weaver's figure arrived once more. She reversed the moon and water, her killing light glaring as her swift sword threatened to kill. With killing intent approaching, Ningchen endured his injuries and used his sword to block the attack. The sound of the sword humming could be heard. Sparks flew between the two of them. The light from the swords illuminated the starry sky. Kill. Kill. In the distance, a pair of calm eyes watched the battle. No one helped. Regardless of their position, there was no room for him to intervene in this battle. As long as he was willing to kill, Marquis Jiming had the ability to break out of the encirclement. However, could he kill Butterfly in the Flower? This calamity was not so much a calamity as a calamity of the heart. If he could not overcome this calamity, Jiming would forever be under the control of the demonic palace. The battle shook violently. Sword and blade clashed, 2 against 1. The calamity of the heart was a demonic test. His fluttering white hair was dyed red, but not a single drop belonged to Butterfly. His sword retracted and his blade showed mercy. Even if he had killed millions of people, facing the little warmth left in his heart, the sword in his hand was not willing to face each other for a moment. With a bang, his palm shook the heart meridian. Blood splashed out. At such a close distance, the gentleness in his eyes never wavered. Ningchen raised his hand and condensed his yuan. The sword light was dazzling and pointed at Butterfly's chest. There was no blood as expected. The sword chi entered Butterfly's body and disappeared without a trace. Behind him, the killing light of the moon and water overturned swept over. Unable to dodge in time, the sword pierced his left shoulder. Blood sprayed out like rain. Get lost. The moment he turned around, the gentleness in his eyes turned into killing intent. The Taisher sword in Ning Chen's hand shone brightly. The moon appeared and the sun shone brightly. The famous sword technique was ferocious and shocking. Exchanging injury for injury. The sword light fell, the moon collapsed and the sun scattered. Ugh! With a muffled groan, blood splashed across the starry sky. Moon Weaver took several steps back, blood splashing out of the hand holding the sword. The battle had reached its climax and there was no room for mercy. Behind him, demonic chi surged like a wave. Butterfly in the Flower's blood-red hair danced wildly. Her battle power was at its peak. The ultimate martial light shone brightly. The god of the blade and the butterfly of the demonic appeared for the first time. The Flower burial tear shone brightly with black light, and a terrifying saber light soared into the sky. Above the sky, the void was torn apart and black butterflies flew out. There were tens of thousands of them, and their terrifying aura made people feel a bone-piercing pressure. Butterfly Dance Nether King. Behind demonic butterfly, a pair of beautiful butterfly wings spread open. At this moment, the entire starry sky shook. The next moment, the blade light fell and the starry sky collapsed. When the blade light arrived, Ningchen turned around and waved his blade to block Flower burial tears. Amidst the rumbling, cracks appeared on Nianqing. It had accompanied her for 100 years, but today, it would be difficult for her to move forward. Nianqing trembled in grief. Ningchen's body shook at the same time. He pulled out his blade and pointed at Butterfly's chest. Behind him, sword chi passed through his body. Ningchen staggered and waved his sword to counter. With a bang, the divine artifact shook the sword light. The killing intent in Moonweaver's eyes grew stronger and stronger. She reversed the water and moon and fought with force. With the intent of cherishing his blade, Ning Chen's blade turned from offense to defense. Taisher helped him block the divine artifact. After exchanging a few moves, the disadvantage was obvious. Nianqing cried out again and again. It seemed like she was bidding farewell and praying. The cracks spread and became clearer. The cries from the blade also became more ear-piercing. Hearing the cries from the blade, Ning Chen's expression became more and more solemn. After exchanging a few moves, he pushed away the person in front of him. The blade and sword merged, and heaven and earth opened. If you want to leave no regrets in the last move, then knowing destiny will fulfill your wish. With a soft shout, the two blades hummed together. In an instant, the light from the blade and sword soared. Their aura surged and shook the stars. Heaven and earth cry, life and death defying fate. The blade and sword left his hands. Two intersecting lights broke through the sky and shot forward. Extreme Dao Moon Sky. With the arrival of the killing move, Moonweaver's expression turned serious. Her sword gathered extreme power, and one sword shook the two rainbows. The divine artifact slashed down, and Taisher flew up. Nianqing's blade broke. In an instant, purple energy filled the sky. It was so familiar, as if Nianqing had left behind the last memory of killing a god. In an instant, the fate of the dynasty scattered and disappeared into the starry sky. With a wave of his hand, Ningchen put away Nianqing's broken blade. His eyes turned cold. He clenched his left hand, and a bloody mist filled the sky. His life weapon reappeared. Knowing destiny sword, don't ask about life and death. With a cold snort, the four extreme origins appeared on the broken sword. Immediately, the wind blew, and the sun and moon shone. Four symbols heavenly beckoning, extreme chaos. The four origins moved the four symbols. The two swords raised chaos. Behind Ningchen a vision appeared. Chaos evolved and a black vortex swirled. Sword technique Tai. The sword was one, forming its own Tao. It was built on the everlasting nothing, and its master was Tai. The supreme Tao sword appeared from the chaos, illuminating the entire starry sky. Behind him, Butterfly and the flower wanted to help. Suddenly she staggered. A strange light rose around her as the divine seal appeared and sealed her body. The sword light broke through the stars and moved the world. With yin and yang, the dazzling sword gradually returned to its original state. It tore through the air and sank thousands of miles. Seeing this, Moonweaver's eyes turned serious. Her divine artifact shone brightly as she slashed with the sword. With a muffled groan, the sword light penetrated her body. Moonweaver retreated, blood spurting from her chest. She was heavily injured. Butterfly Dance Heaven's Inquisition. Behind him, Butterfly and the flower forcefully shook open the divine seal in her body, ignoring the backlash. Flower Burial's tears split into two, and a black and white blade appeared. Heaven's Inquisition appeared, and the demonic Butterfly Inquisition appeared. Ningchen turned around and blocked with his sword. He did not have enough energy left. With a loud rumble, blood dyed the starry sky. A situation where both sides are heavily injured? Outside the battle, the Dawn Moon Brothel Master saw this scene and narrowed her eyes. The situation was so favorable, but these two still could not kill him. One had to admit that this Marquis Jiming's combat power was already at a level where people could only look up to him. In the distance, the battle was intense. Injuries were constantly exchanged. The Knowing Destiny sword appeared, and killing intent filled the sky. Two swords against two strong opponents. As the battle progressed, cracks spread on the sword. The broken sword could not withstand the aftermath of the battle. It also showed signs of collapse. Sighing softly, it was difficult to escape. Ning Chen's eyes focused. He waved his hand, and a black light surrounded him. The moment he pulled out the sickly king's divine sword, in the distance, demonic waves and Buddhist power surged. Two completely different auras filled the air, shocking everyone. Moonweaver and Butterfly and the flower felt it, and looked in the direction of the auras. In the midst of the holy light and demonic aura, a charming figure in a light pink dress stepped through the air. Every step was steady. Lotuses bloomed in the starry sky, and the Buddhist and demonic aura surged. Demonic Buddha 6 realms, Brahma ghost life and death. Without saying anything, She attacked with her extreme heaven technique. Aaron Ming King raised her palm, and the Buddhist and demonic waves surged. Suddenly, the heaven and earth shook, and the starry sky within 1,000 miles collapsed. It was a terrifying scene, as if the end of the world had arrived. The Buddhist and demonic aura appeared on the hell path, and the underworld ferryman showed signs of life. While the two were shocked, the Buddhist and demonic aura broke through the air, shocking the world. With the change, the black light around Ningchen quickly retracted. The sickly king's sword that had not yet appeared disappeared. He took a step and teleported, and the two swords stirred up the sky. Moonweaver and Butterfly in the Flower focused their attention and blocked the attack. The four top experts of the world clashed, sword against sword, palm against blade. With a loud bang, the battle was decided. Knowing destiny, let's go. The aftermath roared. Aaron Ming King's figure flashed and carried the heavily injured Knowing Destiny away. In the rolling waves, Moonweaver wanted to give chase. Suddenly, she staggered, and the heavy injuries in her body erupted, causing her to suffer a backlash. On the other side, Butterfly in the Flower waved her blade to disperse the surging waves. She looked coldly in the direction where the two had left, and then she stepped forward and chased after them. Butterfly in the Flower, no. Moonweaver's expression changed, and she stopped her. 100 feet away, Butterfly in the Flower stopped and looked coldly at the woman behind her. Why not? There's a change in the plan, and there's no point in tangling with him. That Marquis Jiming is very scheming. You might be in danger if you chase after him alone. Let's call it a day and report back to the demon region, Moonweaver said in a deep voice. Chapter 898. In the starry sky, thousands of miles away from the battlefield, two streaks of flowing light arrived and stopped. Ugh! With a painful groan, Jiming staggered several steps. Blood dripped from the corner of his mouth and dyed his clothes red. Aaron Ming stepped forward and supported him. She said softly, "How are you?" "I can still hold on. Thank you for saving me, Miss Aaron," Ningchen said with a tired expression. "There's no need to thank me. Although those two are powerful, you shouldn't have been injured to this extent. Furthermore, why did that butterfly attack you?" asked Aaron Ming. "It's a long story." Ningchen raised his hand and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He said, "Miss Aaron, why did you pass by here?" "The Buddhist nation is in trouble. As a Buddhist, I naturally cannot watch with folded arms," said Aaron Ming calmly. "The Buddhist nation's calamity has been temporarily resolved. However, the demon palace is too powerful. The Buddhist nation is the only power in the all-heaven starfield that can contend against them. Nothing must happen to them," said Ningchen seriously. "Do you have a plan?" asked Aaron Ming. Amen, Ningchen nodded. "Our friends in the inner realm have all gathered. However, our battle power is still insufficient. We need your help." Aaron Ming narrowed her eyes. After a short moment, she said softly, "Lead the way." Ningchen nodded. He temporarily suppressed the injuries in his body and took a step forward. Behind him, Aaron Ming followed. Soon, they disappeared into the depths of the starry sky. Several days later, at the intersection of the three realms, in the region filled with countless meteors, two figures appeared. Ningchen walked forward and gathered his energy. A strange light rose and separated the meteors that blocked his path. The divine restriction was opened, and the underworld appeared. A vast continent floated in the starry sky. 10 majestic palaces stood there. The two figures flashed past and entered the underworld continent. They slowly descended from the sky. "Miss Aaron, please follow me," Ningchen said courteously. Then, he led the way to the Yama Palace in the middle of the 10 palaces. Aaron Ming followed behind. She looked at the 10 palaces with a special arrangement. Light flashed through her beautiful eyes. The 10 halls of Yama. It turned out that Ji Ming and the others were the mysterious cultivators who saved the people of Buddha Mountain and fought against the Devil Palace. "Young Master Ning, you've impressed AI Ran this time," AI Ran Ming Monarch said softly. "Why?" Ningchen paused in his steps and asked in confusion. Aaron smiled and said, "All this time, no matter what happens, you've always been on the defensive. You'll only retaliate when you can't take it anymore." However, there are many things where taking the initiative is the best solution. I'm sure your friends will be very happy that you're able to reopen hell. Ningchen was silent. After a moment he nodded gently and said, Miss Erin is right. Knowing destiny was too stupid in the past. The 10 kings of hell are in charge of life and death. I wonder if you've left a place for me? Erin Ming King's smile grew even brighter. Ningchen nodded and said, the 8th Yama Palace, King Dusher. After saying that, Ningchen waved his right hand, and a beam of light flew over from the 8th palace in the distance. This beam of light had a white and clean face and looked ferocious. King Dusher, that's a good name. AI Ran likes it. Erin Ming King took over the evil face of hell and smiled. AI Ran, taking this mask means that you've accepted the responsibility of Hell's King. In the future, you might encounter many dangers. Before you officially take over, you can think about it carefully. Ningchen said seriously. No need. I've already thought about it. Young Master Ning, do you still remember that you promised AI Ran to protect me? Now, it's time for you to fulfill your promise. Erin Ming King said gently. You're already in the true realm. Why do you need me to protect you? Ningchen said softly. Young Master, you don't need to be humble. Although AI Ran has entered the true realm, I'm definitely not your match. Young Master, are you refusing to fulfill your promise? Erin Ming King smiled. Miss, you're exaggerating. Ningchen shook his head and said, that's not what I meant. Since Miss Erin trusts me, then knowing destiny will definitely keep my promise and protect you with all my strength. Erin Ming King smiled and nodded in satisfaction. While the two were talking, a white-robed swordsman walked out of King Bianqing's palace. Seeing knowing destiny, he stepped forward and moved over. You're injured? Sword 2 looked at the man and frowned. There was an accident. We'll talk about it later. Let me introduce you to Erin Ming King, the daughter of Tianfo Mountain, the homeland of West Buddha. Ningchen said. Tianfo Mountain's anomaly, Erin Ming King? Sword 2's eyes flashed. Greetings, Mr. Sword 2. Erin Ming King smiled, bowed and said. You flatter me. Sword 2 took half a step back and said calmly. You two don't need to be so polite. From now on, AI Ran will be one of us and will be responsible for guarding King Bianqing's palace. Ningchen said. Sword 2 looked at Ningchen and said, they're all out. The official ceremony will have to wait a few days. Ningchen nodded and said, I understand. These days, Miss AI Ran can have a good rest. After taking over the position of King Yanluo, there won't be many days of peace like this. Knowing destiny, you should rest too. Sword 2 looked at the man in front of him and said seriously. There are still some things I haven't finished. Once I'm done, I'll come back and rest for a few days. Ningchen smiled and said. Sword 2 stared at the man in front of him for a long time and said, knowing destiny, I'm not discussing this with you. You should rest. In King Bianqing's palace, the black-robed king who was closing his eyes to heal opened his eyes and said, if there's anything to discuss, wait for Luofei and the others to come back. Knowing destiny, you're the one who initiated the reopening of hell. If you fall, who will take over? In front of King Yanluo's palace, Ningchen fell silent after hearing the advice of his two friends. After a while he nodded and said, I understand. I'll wait for them to come back, and then make plans. In King Yanluo's palace, Xia Zi closed his eyes again and calmed his heart to heal. I'll also go back and cultivate. Knowing destiny, your injuries can't be delayed for too long. Remember, don't let yourself carry too much burden. Now that you have us, you don't have to be as tired as before. Sword 2 said seriously. I understand. Thank you, my friend. Ningchen smiled and replied. Sword 2 nodded and didn't say anything else. His figure flashed and he returned to King Yanluo's palace. In front of King Yanluo's palace, King Aaron looked at the man in front of him and smiled. What are you worried about? The inner realm? Ningchen sighed softly and nodded. The people they treasured were all in the inner realm. The appearance of the demon palace made him worried. When senior sister Dai left the central continent, Heaven's sanctum hadn't invaded yet. However, this didn't guarantee that the demon palace didn't know that the underworld king's barrier had been broken. He advocated the reopening of hell, so that the demon palace wouldn't have the time to care about other things. He wanted to maintain peace in the inner realm. Young Master Ning, how long have you been protecting them? King Aaron asked softly. Ning Chen stilled and looked at the woman beside him in confusion. He didn't understand the former's meaning. Do you know that it has been 100 years since you left the inner realm? After 100 years, the inner realm is no longer as defenseless as before, King Aaron said seriously. West Buddha, Northern Plains, or Central Continent, many of those great perfection cultivators have entered the treading immortal realm. Some have even reached reality realm. The inner realm has no lack of geniuses, especially the Chongling female supreme who saved your life, or the mysterious heavenly music pavilion master of Northern Plains. I wouldn't be surprised if they appeared as true realm cultivators. Hearing the woman's words, a strange expression flashed across Ning Chen's face. Was he too worried? Young Master Ning, you don't owe anyone a favor. You don't have to always think for others. You have done enough for the divine prefecture, and even the entire inner realm. You don't have to carry these burdens on your shoulders, King Aaron said softly. Ning Chen quietly listened, not interrupting. After a long time, a smile appeared on his face as he said, Miss Aaron, thank you for reminding me. I never thought that I would be able to shoulder everything. I just wanted to protect the people I cherish from harm. Alright, it's getting late. Miss should return to the hall and rest. When Luofei and the others return, I will formally preside over the succession ceremony for Miss Aaron. Yes. King Aaron nodded and said, You should rest early and recover from your injuries. Then King Aaron didn't linger, and walked towards King Dusher's hall in the east. Watching her leave, Ning Chen's eyes flashed. Wisdom King Aaron's strength was one of the best even among them. She was the variable of Tianfo Mountain. Now that she had the power of Buddha and demon, both her cultivation and strength were amazing. In the future, she might even be the fastest to reach the fourth realm among them. Cold stars filled the sky. Ning Chen stood quietly for a moment. An indescribable exhaustion attacked his mind. Ning Chen suppressed the exhaustion in his body and walked into King Yama's hall. He sat down cross-legged in front of a ferocious evil face of King Yama. The next moment, wind and snow drifted in the hall. The temperature of the entire hall dropped. Gradually, the hall was frozen and completely sealed. Thousands of feet away, in King Pingding's hall and King Bianqing's hall, Xia Zi and Jian Er felt the change in King Yama's hall. Their faces turned serious. It seemed that knowing destiny was seriously injured this time. Who in the demon palace could hurt him like this? In the east, King Aaron stood quietly in front of King Dusher's hall. Looking at the frozen King Yama's hall in the distance, a strange look appeared in her beautiful eyes. Lord Ning had always given her the impression that he was unfathomable. No one could compare with him in terms of wisdom and strength. However, she had clearly sensed weakness and exhaustion from him just now. She had heard a little about Butterfly in the Flower. Because of Ning Chen, she had become a demon in front of Devil Wheel Sea and made a vow to all sects in the world. Not long after, she went to the Zhao family and defeated Zhao Liusu. Her supreme demonic power shocked the world. Later, Butterfly in the Flower disappeared completely for some reason. She didn't reappear until the Battle of the Ancient Battlefield. She stopped the star venerables of all the domains by herself, and became famous again. Everything that the Butterfly did was for her junior brother. Facing her, it was not strange that Lord Ning was seriously injured. Chapter 899. Heavens, Spirit Void, and Purple Myrtle. At the intersection of the three realms, in front of the divine restriction formed by thousands of meteorites, figures appeared one after another. They returned after 100 days. The divine restriction opened, the meteorites moved, and the continent of hell appeared. Several figures rushed in and descended from the sky. Ning Chen, I'm back. Before the person arrived, the voice had spread throughout hell. Yin-Er left the people behind her and hurriedly ran forward. Behind her, beside Luofei, there was a woman with a perfect face that didn't look human. Her temperament was otherworldly, like a fairy from the ninth heaven. No one dared to profane her. After 100 years, the god of Luo River reappeared and came to the 10 palaces of hell. In the palace of King Bian City, Sword 2 felt it. His body moved and appeared in front of everyone. Uncle Sword 2, I'm going to find my master. Yinar shouted and continued to run toward King Yanluo's palace. Sword 2 looked back and saw the girl running behind him. His eyes flashed with surprise. It was really that child. He didn't expect her to have grown into a girl. Who is this girl? Sword 2 returned to his senses and looked at the woman beside Luofei. Luoshan, the god of Luo River of Central State. She is also a friend I met when I came to Central State at the beginning of the year. Luofei introduced. Sword 2 nodded and nodded to the woman in front of him. He didn't ask any more questions. He believed in Luofei. Since Luofei believed that she could bring this person here, he would no longer doubt it. I have informed the sects in the inner realm. They will be careful. The strength of the inner realm is not what it used to be. Even if it is still not as good as the human realm, it still has some power to protect itself. Luofei said calmly. What about Qing Ning and the others? Why is only Yinar here? Sword 2 asked. Qing Ning is taking care of Hongwulei in Tearless City. Ruoxi is also there. Yinar heard that her master is with us, so she wanted to come. Luofei replied. Marquis Jiming's aura doesn't seem right. Is he injured? On the side, Luoshan, who had been silent, said softly. Huh. Sword 2 heard this and narrowed his eyes. What a keen perception. Jiming had frozen King Yanluo's palace, but she could still perceive it. Jiming is injured? When? Luofei frowned. Not long after you left. Sword 2 replied. It's a long story. You should know Huazhongdia. She's now a member of the Devil Palace. She was the one who injured Jiming. As for the details, we won't know until Jiming comes out of seclusion. As the three of them spoke, Yinar ran over from the front of King Yanluo's palace. When she saw the frozen palace, she was stunned. Don't disturb your master. He's focused on healing. As she spoke, Aaron Mingwang walked over and smiled at the young lady in front of her. Who is Big Sister? Is Master's friend? What happened to Master? Why is he injured? Yinar asked a series of questions. I'm a Buddhist girl from Tianfo Mountain, the homeland of the Western Buddhists. My name is Aram Mingwang, and I can be considered your master's friend. As for why your master was injured, it'll be troublesome to explain. Once your master comes out of seclusion, he'll naturally tell you, smiled Aram Mingwang. Yinar nodded and stood in front of the palace in a daze. Her face was filled with worry as she waited for the people inside to come out. Behind her, Luofei and the other two walked over and asked Aram Mingwang about what happened that day. Then they returned to their own palaces to wait. Yinar, go rest in my palace first. Your master might need a few more days to come out of seclusion, said Luofei before leaving. I'm not tired. I want to wait here for master to come out. Yinar shook her head stubbornly. Luofei sighed and didn't try to persuade her anymore. She brought Luoshan to her own palace. In front of King Yanluo's palace, Aram Mingwang looked at the girl in front of her and smiled. Yinar, are you learning the sword from your master? Yes. Yinar nodded her head vigorously and replied. Aram Mingwang nodded and smiled. How about this? Big Sister and your master are friends. You can learn the sword from your master while learning Buddhism from Big Sister. Is that all right? When Yinar heard this, she asked with a puzzled expression, why? Because Yinar's aptitude is very suitable for Buddhism. As long as you work hard, you will definitely surpass Big Sister, said Aram Mingwang. I don't want to. Yinar pouted. I don't want to be a monk. Heh. Aram Mingwang chuckled. Who said that you have to be a monk if you want to cultivate Buddhism? Although Big Sister is a Buddhist girl, isn't she the same as an ordinary person? In front of King Yanluo's palace, Luoshui's body stood in a light-colored dress. She had an otherworldly temperament, and a faint smile hung on her perfect face. It was intoxicating. Luofei, this Jiming Marquis is really bold. He dares to reopen Underworld's 10 palaces and confront the Demon Palace. Luoshan looked at King Yanluo's palace and said, there's nothing in this world that he doesn't dare to do. Moreover, only he has the qualifications to reopen Underworld. Behind her, Luofei walked out of the palace and said, you guys really trust this Jiming Marquis? Luoshan smiled. We are not his friends. We hate him to the bone. We are his friends without reservation. Luofei said calmly. Why do you say that? Luoshan asked softly. When I first met Jiming, we were on opposite sides. It can be said that as an enemy, Jiming Marquis is an existence that people don't want to face. The reason why Eternal Night Sect couldn't defeat Great Xia wasn't because of their victory or the college dean. The only reason was that Jiming Marquis was in Great Xia. Luofei's eyes shone brightly as she said, ever since Mingwang was sent away and Jiming was relieved of his responsibility as a marquis, his sharpness has gradually converged. The Jiming that I know, at that time, he joined forces with Fan Lingyue and Zhong Qianqiu to plot against the world. His sharpness was unparalleled. At that time, Jiming was incomparably dazzling, making people not want to be his enemy. Oh. Luoshan revealed a strange expression and said, I've never heard you say these words before. During those days in the Central Plains, he wasn't as powerful as you described him to be. Although he showed some of his strength when fighting against the invasion of the Heavenly Palace, he was forced into a very sorry state by the sects of the Central Plains in the end. He was surrounded by danger. Madame Luo sneered and said, Madame Luoshan, to be frank, the Central State sects you mentioned were never qualified to be his enemy. He didn't fight because he didn't want to fight anymore. There was no other reason. However, now that the flames of war have risen again, the Knowing Destiny State will once again become the Knowing Destiny State. What you mean is that I will soon be able to meet a brilliant Jiming Marquis of Grand Xia. Luoshan's eyes shone with a strange light. Luofei nodded and calmly said, if that Devil Palace Saint Priest doesn't disappoint. While the two were talking, the King of Erin was trying to persuade the little girl in front of her with a smile. It would be a waste to leave such a good seedling in the Knowing Destiny State. At the side, Ina looked at the King's Hall in front of her. The words of the woman beside her went in her left ear, and out her right ear. Basically, she didn't remember a single word. Ina, have you thought about it? Do you want to practice Buddhism with me? King of Erin chuckled. Ina? Ina subconsciously replied and then shook her head vigorously. I don't want to. King of Erin was about to say something when suddenly, her gaze froze and she looked at the King's Hall in front of her. Above the frozen King's Hall, wind and snow fell from the sky. The King's Hall gradually melted from top to bottom. In the blink of an eye, it returned to its original appearance. In the King's Hall, a silhouette in plain clothes appeared. Surrounded by snow, he walked out step by step. Ningchen. Seeing this, Ina's face lit up and she ran over. Chapter 900. From King Yama's palace, Ningchen walked out in plain clothes with a gentle smile on his face. Ina cried out in surprise, then ran over and pounced on him. Ningchen caught the girl and chuckled. Be careful, don't fall. Ningchen, I'm back. Are you surprised? Ina raised her head and said happily. Ningchen chuckled and said, there's no surprise, but there's a lot of shock. Why didn't you stay a few more years with your sister Qingning in Central Province? Why are you in such a hurry to come back? Hearing this, Ina pouted and snorted. I'm not happy. I'm ignoring you. Ningchen rubbed the girl's hair and smiled. All right, you're a big girl now. Don't throw tantrums like you did when you were young. Ina giggled, hugged the arm of the person in front of her and said, Ningchen, are your injuries all right? Yes, I'm fine. Ningchen nodded. How's your sister Wulei? Sister Wulei's injuries have healed. Recently, she's been trying to break through to the corporeal realm. Ina answered honestly. Ningchen nodded and sighed in his heart. Wulei's aptitude was lacking compared to Ina and the rest. She failed to break through to the corporeal realm last time. It would be difficult for her to catch up in the future. Ningchen, Sister Luofei said you reopened the underworld. Can you give me a position? Ina shook the former's arm and said coquettishly. You? Ningchen flicked the girl's forehead and said, I told you to cultivate in the past, but you didn't. Now you want a position? Aren't you embarrassed? I'm your disciple. Which master doesn't love his disciple? Just give me a position. Ina shook him vigorously. Ningchen was a little dizzy from the shaking, and hurriedly stopped the girl beside him. He said helplessly, You can be a supplementary disciple first. You can become an official disciple when you have merit. Ina heard this and didn't make trouble for no reason. She giggled. Okay, you have to keep your word. You can't be perfunctory. Okay. Ningchen nodded and didn't dare to pester the girl. He looked at the girl standing quietly and smiled. Aaron, I know you want to take Ina as your disciple. However, she received the inheritance of a heaven's speaker 100 years ago and can't be distracted to cultivate Buddhism. Heaven's speaker? Ai Ran Mingking's eyes lit up. She didn't expect the expert from the heavenly speech peak to be her. What a pity. Aaron Wisdom King sighed softly. There were very few people in the world who were suitable to cultivate Buddhism. This girl had an incomparable talent. If she were to become a Buddhist, her future would be limitless. Beside Ningchen, Ina playfully stuck out her tongue. She didn't want to follow the elder sister in front of her to cultivate Buddhism. It was best to follow her master. Young Master Ning. Just as she was about to say something else, the winds and clouds in the distance changed, and the divine restriction protecting the underworld continent trembled once again. Luo Xingchen and the others have returned. Ningchen also sensed the changes in the divine restriction. He looked into the distance and asked. Right after he spoke, a strange light flourished in front of the divine restriction formed by the thousands of meteors. Then 4 figures descended from the sky. There were 3 men and 1 woman. Their strong auras were shocking. Seeing the man and woman beside Luo Xingchen and Mu Qianshang, Ningchen's eyes narrowed slightly. The man in purple and red clothes had starry eyes and sword intent. He didn't lose to anyone. He was the 4th crown prince of the Mizar dynasty. He had been invited to reappear in the world. Beside him was a woman in light yellow clothes. She was beautiful and looked very familiar. Similar flowers had bloomed in the world. It made people sigh. Tianshu Crown Princess Qi Yanxia and the 4th Crown Prince of the Mizar dynasty, Yishuan Miao, had both come to the underworld continent to fill the vacancy of Yama. Sensing their arrival, the Biancheng Imperial Palace, Equal Imperial Palace, and Reincarnation Imperial Palace all walked out to welcome the 4. Now only Princess Qi is left, Ai Ran Mingking said. Princess Qi's identity is special. She has to appear in front of the world for a period of time every few days. She needs someone to replace her at any time. Ningchen said calmly. Do you have someone in mind? Ai Ran Mingking asked softly. Yes. Ningchen nodded and looked at the Reincarnation Imperial Palace. Light flashed in his eyes. If that person agreed, she would be the most suitable person with her control over the laws of heaven and earth. In front of the Reincarnation Imperial Palace, Luoshan sensed the gaze from the Yama Imperial Palace. She looked over and nodded with a smile. After getting a response, Ningchen retracted his gaze and looked at the people of the other palaces. He said, Everyone, please come to the Yama Imperial Palace. Everyone responded and rushed towards the Yama Imperial Palace in the center of the 10 palaces. Let's go in. Ningchen patted the little girl's head before he strode towards the palace. Ina hugged his arm and followed. Her beautiful eyes were filled with excitement and curiosity. In the Imperial Palace, the geniuses of the world took their seats in front of the conference table. There were 10 seats, 10 peak experts of the world. Qin Guang, Chu Jiang, Emperor Song Wuguan, Yama Biancheng Mount Tai, Dudu Equal, and Reincarnation. Now that the 10 palaces were gathered, the starry sky shook. In the 10 seats Luo Xingchen Luoshan Mu Qianshang, Qi Yanxia Ningchen Jian Eri Xuan Miao, King Ai Ran Xiazi, and Luoshan sat in order. The 6 of them who already had the might of the Yama Imperial Palace sat in front of them. The evil face masks lay quietly on the table, representing their identities. Let me emphasize again. From the moment you take over the position of the Yama Imperial Palace, you will truly shoulder the responsibility of the Yama Imperial Palace. From now on, you will be able to walk through mountains of swords and seas of fire. Ningchen looked at the 9 people in front of him and said. The 9 of them nodded. No one had any objections. Yishuan Miao will be the Yama Imperial Palace of Mount Tai. King Ai Ran will be the Yama Imperial Palace of Dai Du. Qi Yanxia will be the Yama Imperial Palace of Wuguan. Lastly, Luotian will temporarily take over the position of the Yama Imperial Palace of Chujiang when King Qi leaves. Ningchen waved his hand and a dim light appeared. 4 masks appeared in front of the 4 of them. They had different appearances, but they were all ferocious and terrifying. The 4 of them stretched out their hands and took over the evil Yama Imperial Palace of Hell. In an instant, brilliant light shone and the Yama Imperial Palace of Hell returned to its position. The gathering of the 10 palaces shook the entire underworld. Rays of brilliance rose into the sky, surpassing the limit of the 9 palaces. The heavens and earth trembled. 10 ferocious evil Yama Imperial Palace of Hell appeared in the sky above the underworld. It represented the return of the Yama Imperial Palace of Hell. Falling Star. Ningchen said calmly. Here. Falling Star stood up and waited for the order. Send out the Yama Imperial Palace of Hell. Officially declare war on the Devil Palace. Ningchen said coldly. Yes. Falling Star accepted the order. He flipped his right hand. In the 7-colored light, his astral soul bow was filled. The Yama Imperial Palace of Hell issued the Yama Imperial Palace of Hell, and turned into a ray of light that pierced through the sky. At this moment, a blazing meteor streaked across the sky above the underworld. The divine restriction was activated. The ray of light streaked across the starry sky and flew into the distance. In the Devil Domain, demon palaces stood tall. In the center of the palaces, Jie Tiant stood quietly in the Devil Palace's sacred palace. Suddenly, his expression turned serious. He waved his hand and a screen appeared in the sky. Above the screen, a blazing meteor streaked across the sky. Black flames lingered around it. It was so dazzling. Jie Tiant's gaze turned serious. He waved his hand and dispersed the screen. He took a step forward and stood in front of the sacred palace. He turned his palm and condensed his essence. Dark clouds gathered in the sky. Amidst the rolling thunderclouds, a green arrow fell from the sky. Its aura was majestic and shocking. In the next moment, the arrow light fell. Its shocking power scattered the laws in the sky and crashed into the world. Boom! Amidst the earth-shattering tremors, the raging waves blocked the divine arrow. The sand turned into waves and shook the heavens and earth. In front of the sacred palace, Jie Tiant waved his hand and dispersed the dust in the sky. He walked forward step by step. On the cracked ground, the green arrow trembled. On the arrow, a black ghost order emitted a cold aura. The Yama order of the underworld appeared in the world for the first time. Jie Tiant raised his hand and took the black order. Looking at the Yama order in his hand, a cold light flashed in his eyes. A declaration of war? He accepted it. Men, Jie Tiant said. Saint Priest. An illusory figure walked out and half-knelt. Tell Jun Wentian that within 100 days, we will destroy the Buddhist kingdom. Jie Tiant said calmly. The illusory figure was stunned. He immediately collected his thoughts and respectfully accepted the order. Yes. At the border of the 3 regions, the 10 halls of the underworld. In the King of Hell's hall, the kings of Hell who had accepted the evil image of Yama stood quietly, waiting for the King of Hell's orders. In the next battle, the focus will still be on the Buddhist kingdom. No matter what, we must do our best to ensure that the Buddhist kingdom does not perish. Ningchen looked at the 9 people in front of him and said, yes. The 9 people accepted the order and replied. Of the 4 protectors of the Devil Palace, Lu Wangu is dead. The remaining 3 will definitely be present this time. Ziyi is injured and will not be able to participate in the first battle. Yishuanmiao, Qianxia. I will leave by Wang Ran to you this time. This person's strength is shocking and he has the protection of the Avicii Hell Palace. You must be careful. Ningchen said seriously. Yes. The 2 of them accepted the order. Mu Qianshang Luofei, I will still leave the Moonweaver girl to you. Be careful of her mouth. Ningchen reminded. Understood. Mu Qianshang and Luofei nodded. As for Jun Wentian, Ningchen looked at everyone and fell silent, thinking about who to choose. I will do it. Aaron Ming King smiled. You don't have a better choice now, right? No. Ningchen shook his head and said. You can't stop him alone. Moreover, the 10 halls cannot all come out. Your cultivation body is special. This is not the best time to act. Ningchen, I will do it. Xiaozi said calmly. My injuries are not serious. Last time, I was careless and was injured by Lu Wangu. This time, it is time to get back my face. Hesitation flashed across Ning Chen's face. It was hard to decide. Zi was indeed the most suitable person to deal with Jun Wentian. However, Zi's injuries worried him. Don't hesitate anymore. Give the order. Xiaozi said coldly. Ning Chen sighed in his heart and nodded. Then the matter of stopping Jun Wentian will be handed over to Zi. Does anyone have any objections? The 9 people below shook their heads. No one had any objections. Ning Chen, what about me, what about me? At this moment, a crisp voice sounded behind Ning Chen. After waiting for a long time, she asked anxiously. Ning Chen turned his head and looked at the girl behind him. He smiled and said, Iner, don't make a fuss. You are our secret weapon. You can't come out so quickly. This time you will stay. You are lying. Iner pouted. I am not lying. Ning Chen's eyes flashed. What you need now is to awaken the full power of the Heaven Speaker as soon as possible. It is very important to us. Chapter 901. The night was as cold as water, and the cold moon hung high in the sky. On Mount Shumi, tens of thousands of monks chanted sutras, and the power of faith flew toward the wishing mountain in the distance, lighting up the hope of Buddhism. On the Buddha platform, Heavenly Buddha Lord sat in meditation with his eyes closed, cultivating day after day to reverse the balance of the war between Buddha and demon, and to cultivate Buddhism's pure Dharma. It was a forbidden Buddhist Dharma that abandoned filth and evil thoughts, and raised one's Dharma cultivation to the greatest extent. For tens of thousands of years, no one had been able to cultivate it. Every forbidden Dharma had its drawbacks, and Buddhism's pure Dharma was no exception. Humans had 7 emotions and 6 desires, and no one knew what the consequences would be if they completely abandoned them. 3,000 miles away from Mount Shumi, the Demon Palace's East Army, which had just experienced a great battle, had regrouped and was preparing to march east again. At the front of the demon army, Bai Wangran, dressed in white, looked coldly at Mount Shumi in the distance. He had received the order from the saint, and he had to take down Buddhism no matter what. Otherwise he would lose all face. Protector, everything is ready. Can we set off? A demon general asked respectfully from behind. Bai Wangran nodded and said, set off immediately. With the order, the army set off, and the demon soldiers rose into the air. The 9 heavens sensed it, and dark clouds gathered, covering the cold moon. In the next moment, streams of light streaked across the night sky, heading toward Mount Shumi in the distance. On Mount Shumi, tens of thousands of white-robed novice monks felt the powerful pressure from afar, and their expressions turned solemn. Was it finally here again? The war between Buddha and demon began again, but there was not much fear on the faces of the Buddhas on the mountain. They were already mentally prepared. Even if Mount Shumi could not be saved, they would live and die with Mount Shumi. An hour later, demonic clouds covered the sky above Mount Shumi. Behind Bai Wangran, many demon generals stood in the air, their powerful auras driving people crazy. Protector, shall we attack the mountain? A demon general asked respectfully. Wait. Bai Wangran looked at the distant horizon and said. The demon general nodded and retreated without asking any more questions. 15 minutes, 30 minutes. Almost 2 hours passed, but there was no movement from the tens of thousands of demon generals above Mount Shumi, as if they were waiting for someone. Third sister, am I late? As he spoke, a figure with a terrifying aura walked out of the void, looking at the woman beside him. Not late. Moonweaver shook her head and said, since elder brother is willing to come, it's never too late. As soon as the 2 of them appeared, Bai Wangran's expression turned respectful, and he stepped aside. It was so natural, without any reluctance, as if it was a matter of course. In front of that man, anyone would have to restrain themselves. The only person in the Devil Palace who could ignore the orders of the Saint Arbiter, the first guardian of the Devil Palace, Jun Wentian, had personally come to the Buddha nation. Upon seeing the newcomer, the army lowered their heads and opened up a path for him. Jun Wentian stepped forward and looked at the Buddhist kingdom before him. He then said calmly, "It's truly a pity that such a holy land is destroyed just like that. For the sake of the Devil Palace's grand plan, the Buddhist sect is an obstacle that must be removed. Our standpoints are different. Eldest brother, there is no need to be too soft-hearted," Moonweaver said softly. "A war of aggression is meaningless. Let's wait for a while. Hopefully those people will be able to rush over," Jun Wentian said indifferently. "But," Moonweaver said with a worried expression. Jun Wentian raised his hand to stop the former from continuing and said calmly, "I will explain to the sacred priest. The first guardian of the Devil Palace is truly different from others. Were you waiting for us?" Half of the demonic clouds in the sky dissipated, and one figure after another descended from the sky. Their faces were covered with the evil faces of Yama, and their powerful auras made them seem like they stood at the peak of the world. "You're finally here," said Jun Wentian indifferently as he looked at the 5 people in front of him. To the side, Moonweaver clenched her fists, her eyes filled with killing intent. It was them again. They were truly disgusting. "That red-robed Yama didn't come?" asked Jun Wentian as his gaze swept over the 5 people. "There's no need for him to deal with you," said the black-robed king calmly. "Arrogant." Bai Wangran's expression turned cold. His figure flashed, and he sent out a palm strike. "Your opponent is not me." The black-robed king flipped his palm, and demonic chi surged out, blocking the former's palm strike. Then he took a step forward and arrived before Jun Wentian. "First guardian of the Devil Palace, this is the second time we meet. If my opponent is you, then this trip wasn't in vain." Jun Wentian nodded lightly. Looking at the person before him, he said, "Come, let me see if the current underworld is still worth looking forward to." "As you wish." The black-robed king waved his hand, and the demonic sword appeared. Demonic chi surged, and the sword's body and hilt began to spread. "Your weapon isn't bad. I hope your ability won't disappoint me," said Jun Wentian seriously. Right when the 2 of them were in battle, Yama, who wore a black and white cloak, walked forward from the other side, and he stretched out his hand to point at the woman with a red umbrella by Bai Wangran's side as he said indifferently, "Come." "You overestimate yourself." Moonweaver's expression sank, and the red umbrella in her hand disappeared. With a flip of her right hand, a sword appeared in the air, and the moon fell. She took a step forward and drew her sword. The number 1 divine weapon of the Moon Devil clan once again displayed its shocking ability. With a rumble, heaven and earth turned upside down. The sky sank, and the earth rose. Thousands of sharp lights shook, and the battle began once more. Yama moved his sword, and the inky white sword realm spread out. Black mountains and white water sealed the world. Outside the battle, Yama in a white dress also stepped into the battle. He didn't make a move, but stood quietly between the mountains and rivers. The swords clashed, and the inky water shook. Moonweaver dodged the inky chi, and her eyes swept over the woman in the distance. She didn't dare to be careless. In a battle, sometimes you don't have to make a move. As long as you can make your opponent wary, she will hesitate when she makes a move, and won't be able to use her full strength. In the battle with the Devil Palace, we need to preserve our strength as much as possible. Luofei observed the changes. "Don't act rashly." Luofei stood quietly between the mountains and rivers, looking at the battle ahead, waiting for an opportunity. When it came to understanding people's minds, none of them could compare to knowing destiny. Therefore, she trusted him. The battle between the 2 sides began. In the last place, under Yama, Yixuanmiao and Qi Yanxia teamed up against the second protector of the Devil Palace. The Imperial Celestial Scripture once again displayed its shocking power. Qi Yanxia's body was surrounded by purple qi, and her peerless beauty dazzled the world. There were very few cultivators who used the fate of the dynasty as the foundation in cultivation. Today it showed its edge and shocked the world. Bai Wangran raised his hand to condense wind and clouds. Huge waves roared and rolled wildly. With his extremely powerful cultivation, he forcefully resisted the power of the dynasty's fate. The sound shook, and the purple chi and clouds swallowed each other. 10 moves collided, and the world rumbled. Clouds fell from the sky, dazzling and glaring. When the battle reached its climax, Yixuanmiao, who was watching from the side, finally moved. His sword came out, and in a flash, the green moth broke through the wind and clouds. With a loud bang, his palm energy shook the sword. Qi gathered on by Wangran's palm, and he slapped at the swordsman in front of him. Green moth reverse rainbow. Yixuan Miao leaned to the side, and the green moth sword in his hand turned. The sword that was as strong as 100 times twisted and turned, turning into a blue ribbon that wrapped around the former's arm. Seeing this, Bai Wangran frowned slightly. The qi on his arm shook, and the sword was pushed away. The green moth was dispelled, and the sword that was as soft as a silkworm's tongue turned into a blade that was refined 100 times again, stabbing at the former's heart. At the same time, Qi Yanxia used her ultimate energy. Purple qi surrounded her, and she rushed forward with great force. With a boom, 2 palms blocked the 2 attacks. The hurricane roared, and the battle separated. Seeing that the 3 battles were in a heated state, Bai Wangran didn't want to fight for a long time. The light in his hand shone brightly, and the Avici Hell Palace appeared again. It rose into the sky, and turned into a huge palace that fell from the sky. At this moment, on the peak in the distance, a red figure descended from the sky. With a wave of his hand, he activated his unparalleled foundation, and slapped at the huge palace in the sky. Finally, you can't help but show yourself? Behind him, the void rolled, and a figure in a blue brocade coat walked out. Above the 9 heavens, the palm energy shook the Hell Palace. The rumbling shook the sky, frightening even gods and ghosts. Saint of the Demon Palace, didn't you come as well? Yama in red didn't look back and said lightly, General against general, king against king. If you don't attack, I won't show myself, Jia Tiant said calmly. The Avici Hell Palace originally belonged to the Netherworld. I came here today to take it back. Saint, do you have any objections? Yama in red said indifferently. It belongs to the Demon Palace now. It will be difficult for you to take it back, Jia Tiant said calmly. Saint, you are so confident. Yama in red looked at the Avici Hell Palace in the sky and said, Same to you, Jia Tiant said calmly. How about a bet? Yama in red suggested. What kind of bet? Jia Tiant asked. If I can't take back the Avici Hell Palace in 10 moves, the Yama in the Netherworld will retreat immediately and not interfere with any of the Demon Palace's actions for 100 days. On the contrary, if I win, the Demon Palace will retreat 3,000 miles and not get close to Buddha Mountain for 100 days. Yama in red said with a smile. Jia Tiant narrowed his eyes and said, The Demon Palace has the upper hand now. Why should I bet with you? It's true that the Demon Palace has the upper hand, but, at this point, the red-clothed Yama turned around and said with a calm expression, with the underworld around, the Devil Palace won't dare to say much if they want to take down Buddha Mountain. However, it shouldn't be a problem to kill one of the Devil Palace's protectors and half of the Devil Army. Jia Tiant's eyes turned cold when he heard that. He said, I accept your bet. Saint, you are wise. Yama in red replied with a smile. Without saying anything else, he took a step forward and soared into the sky. On the peak, Jia Tiant stepped forward at the same time. His clothes fluttered in the wind as he swept past like a ray of light. 3,000 feet away, the 2 figures kept crossing each other. Their palms collided, and the aftershocks were vast. In the blink of an eye, the 2 were less than 100 feet away from the Hell Ghost Palace. Yama in red raised his hand and channeled Yuan Qi. The 9 heavens star-plucking hand appeared again and grabbed at the palace in the sky. Do you think it's that easy? Jia Tiant said coldly. He waved his hand and condensed the laws of heaven and earth. A powerful palm intercepted the star-plucking hand. Scroll of the moon, silent moonfall. At this moment, a dazzling moonlight shot up into the sky from the Mabai sword realm below. Suddenly, the surroundings fell silent. Chapter 902. In the second round of the Buddha Mountain, the Devil Palace's 3 great protectors came out together, and the 5 Yama kings appeared to block the way. The battle was white-hot, and each side displayed their peak power. In the sky, it was a game within a game. The red-robed Yama and the Demon Palace's Sage Arbiter clashed once more. The Palace of Ghosts was their wager, and the world was their stake. 5 moves were exchanged, and the 2 of them were now 300 meters away from the Ghost Palace. The 6th move, plucking stars from the 9th heaven, had a world-shaking divine might. Jietian lashed out with his palm, intending to block the hand of plucking stars. At this moment, in the sword realm of mountains and rivers, moonlight shot up into the sky, sealing the world. In an instant, the wind stopped. Heaven and earth seemed to have died. Jietian's move was restrained and fell for a moment. The palm energy and the star-picking hand crossed each other and flew into the sky. The plucking star shakes the Ghost Palace shook the heavens and the earth. The aftermath roared and surged, and the entire Ghost Palace began to shake. Rays of dim light scattered in all directions. Below him, Bai Wangran's eyes darkened. He activated the energy in his palm, and a boundless force swept up the wind and clouds as it soared into the sky. With a boom, the gale stabilized the swaying Ghost Palace, resisting the hand of stars from the horizon. In the battle, Yishuan Miao's green borer sword shone brightly when he saw this. The transparent blue sword let out a shrill cry as a tremendous sword intent soared into the sky and slashed at the wind and clouds. Extreme Emperor Heaven Scripture, Galaxy Brilliance. On the other side, Qi Yinxia also channeled her ultimate vitality. Her whole body surged like a tide, reaching up to the 9 heavens and down to the blue sky. She guided the starlight into the world and shook the Ghost Palace. The Ghost Palace, which had been stabilized by the wind and clouds, shook again. 9 heavens star-plucking hand, moon break. 6 moves had already passed, and the 7th move was about to be unleashed. The red-robed Yama waved his hands and suddenly, a beam of light shot out from the cold moon. It was so powerful that it shook the stars. The 9 heavens star-plucking hand was unleashed to the extreme. The terrifying silver hand appeared in the sky again and grabbed at the Ghost Palace. Naive. Below, Jietian let out a cold snort. He turned his feet and soared into the sky. After a few flashes, he arrived at the peak of the 9 heavens. Shaochen circulated his essence, and thousands of black and white ghost stones appeared in the sky. They turned into an inescapable net, blocking the Ghost Palace. The giant silver hand swept over and collided with the black and white chessboard net with a loud bang. Their cultivations clashed head-on. In the chaotic aftermath, the hand of plucking stars dissipated and cracks appeared on the heavenly chessboard net. In the Battle of the Pinnacle, there were 7 moves that shocked the world. Only 3 moves were left to decide the outcome, not allowing him to take a breather. The red-clothed Yama's chi pierced through the blue dome of heaven. He raised his ultimate vitality again, and the might of the 9 heavens star-plucking hand increased. Vigorous energy broke through the sky. There was a violent tremor as the heavenly net was plucked from the stars. The chess pieces scattered all over the sky, but they couldn't stop the divine might of the King of Hell. Heavenly Sin Chapter. Above the 9 heavens, Jietian's eyes narrowed slightly. With a wave of his right hand, the 7 stars rotated, and a huge starlight array formation appeared, descending from the sky. The 2 extremes clashed, each displaying their own might. The outcome of the battle was still unclear. Below them, the snowstorm raged as the red-robed Yama soared into the sky. His palm strike was majestic and unrestrained, and in an instant, the snowstorm spread for thousands of miles. Jietian did not dare to be careless. He gathered his primordial energy in his palm, took a step forward, and descended from the sky. The 2 palms collided, and in the midst of an earth-shattering collision, chi energy crazily clashed around the 2 of them. Snow surged like raging waves, and the waves swept through the sky. 9 moves. Jietian looked at Yama in front of him and said coldly, "Star-plucking hand's final move, reverse formless move." The final move was about to appear. Heaven and earth sank, and in the 2 battles below, Moonweaver and Bai Wangran's expressions turned serious. Their moves were swift and fierce like a storm, delaying the 4 Yama in the battle, not giving them a chance to help. In the other battle, the king and the demon palace's first protector did not pay attention to the others. Their moves were the same as before, and they only had eyes for the opponent in front of them. In the sky, the 9 heavens star-plucking hand's final move appeared. The final formless move collided, and Jietian felt his body shake. His primordial energy involuntarily scattered, and it was difficult for him to gather it. Reverse formless move, and the red-robed Yama's figure also soared into the sky. Jia Tian's expression changed slightly as he looked at the red-robed figure soaring into the sky. A black heavenly lock appeared in his hand, spreading out as he quickly chased after the red-robed figure. The final moment had arrived. In the various battles, everyone looked at the sky, watching the outcome of the battle. The heavenly lock was extremely fast. Just as it was about to lock onto Yama's body, the wind and clouds above the 9 heavens suddenly changed, and a picturesque figure appeared. She spoke softly and raised her hand to stop the sky. Eternal instant. The power of the deity appeared in the human world again. The wind and clouds in the 9 heavens suddenly stopped, and eternal instant turned into eternal instant. The heavenly lock stopped, and the red-robed Yama soared into the 9 heavens. The 9 heavens star-plucking hand's final move was activated again, trapping toward the ghost palace in the sky. Dance of butterflies, heavenly net. At this moment another change occurred. In the void, the demonic butterfly descended from the sky, and her water sleeves spread out, forming an inescapable net, blocking the front. The change within the change, and the trump cards were all used. The final move was about to determine the outcome, and it affected everyone's hearts. After breaking through so many perilous battles, the final move's accumulated power was not enough. Just as the heavenly net was blocking the way, a black arrow pierced through the sky from afar. It was surrounded by black flames, and its terrifying aura made the blood in people's bodies boil. The sick king's divine arrow appeared for the first time in the human world. It arrived from thousands of miles away, and one arrow broke through the heavenly net, opening up a broad path. Behind him, the star-plucking hand's last remaining power swept past, crashing onto the ghost palace. The final formless move reversed yin and yang. Not good. In the battle below, Bai Wangran's expression changed. He activated his palm energy, trying to take back the Avicii ghost palace, but it was already too late. The green moth sword and the Emperor's heavenly scriptures palm energy arrived at the same time, and its power was shocking. Bai Wangran turned his palm to block the two powerful attacks. With a boom, the aftershock spread out in all directions. The true vitality that he had spent so much effort to accumulate dissipated, and he could not stop the ghost palace from returning to the hands of Yama. After 10 moves, the smoke in the sky dispersed. Yama in red stood in the sky, and the Avicii Hell Palace in his left hand bobbed up and down, emitting faint ghostly light that terrified people's minds. Jia Tian's looked at the figure in the sky, and coldness flashed in his eyes. The 10 kings of Yama had impressed him. In the sky, Yama in red landed slowly, and a smile appeared on his face. He said, "Saint Arbiter, the Netherworld Palace has won this round." Killing intent flashed in Jia Tian's eyes, but he gradually returned to normal in an instant. He said calmly, "You have a good plan. I admire you." "Same to you. Saint Arbiter, can we retreat now?" Yama in red asked. "Yes, you must accept your loss." Jia Tian's answered softly. He looked down and said, "All troops retreat." With this order, the thousands of demon soldiers' expressions changed. They looked at each other in shock. Saint Arbiter. In the battle between the two sides, Bai Wangran and Moonweaver looked at the sky and said anxiously, "Retreat." Jia Tian's expression turned cold as he said again. The two guardians of the demon palace did not dare to say anything more. Their expressions changed again and again. They gathered their true vitality to shake off the battle, and said in a low voice, "Retreat." Behind them, the thousands of demon soldiers did not dare to hesitate and retreated. The retreat of the demon army was so sudden, but in the last battle, the battle between the black-robed king and the first guardian of the demon palace was not affected at all. Demonic chi surged, and it was abnormally intense. Saint Arbiter, if the general does not accept the order, it will damage the dignity of the Saint Arbiter. Yama in red instigated with a smile. Jia Tian's eyes flickered coldly. He said, "Instigation is also not something a gentleman should do." "Ah." Yama in red smiled faintly and said, "What instigation? I'm just stating the facts. The demon palace has lost this battle, and this person refuses to retreat. Isn't that challenging the dignity of the Saint Arbiter in public? Jietians looked at Jun Wentian, who still showed no signs of retreating, and frowned slightly. At other times he could ignore it, but today the first guardian had gone too far. It seemed that if the demon lord did not appear, it would be difficult for him to make use of this person. If the Saint Arbiter can't control his subordinates, then the underworld does not mind doing it for him. Yama in Red's smile gradually turned cold. He gathered his true vitality with a flip of his palm, and a vigorous palm energy broke through the sky and intervened in the battle. At the same time, the beautiful figure who had attacked previously descended from the sky. She had an extraordinary temperament, and she looked like a person from a painting. She was ethereal and extraordinary. The appearance of the seventh king of hell, who stood between heaven and earth, intimidating everyone. Chu Jiang, take care of the guest. I'll be back soon, Yama in Red said coldly. His figure flashed, and he dashed toward the battle below. Jietian's face turned cold. Just as he was about to move, the woman in front of him stepped forward and blocked his path. Saint Arbiter, you must accept your loss, the woman said softly. As soon as she spoke, heaven and earth obeyed her order, and the void condensed. It was a simple sentence, but its power was shocking. When Jietian saw this, a strange look flashed in his eyes. What a strong control of the laws. This woman is not human. In the battle below, the king of hell was domineering. The battle was getting more and more intense. The demon sword was everywhere, and the palm energy was overwhelming. At this moment, Yama in Red's figure flashed. He raised his hand and gathered his true vitality. Jun Wentian took a step forward and gathered his true vitality. He did not dodge, and he took the palm energy head-on. The battle shook violently, and the aftermath whistled. Before he could take a breath, the king of hell's sword light came again, and the demon wave surged. Jun Wentian leaned to the side and avoided the sword. Soon after, the true vitality in his palm exploded, and the person in front of him was pushed away. Come at me together. Jun Wentian raised his hand and pointed at the enemy. His eyes were full of fighting spirit. With a flip of his hand, endless demon chi surged out. Suddenly, the wind and clouds above Buddha Mountain changed rapidly, and lightning fell from the sky, illuminating the night sky. The shocking demon might appeared for the first time in the mortal world. Outside the battle, many gazes looked in this direction, and they were all shocked. In the sky, Jietians looked at the battle below with a cold look in his eyes. Jun Wentian's strength was unquestionable. However, the fact that he did not listen to orders greatly reduced his value. As a commander, the most taboo thing was for the commander to not listen to orders, no matter how strong the commander was. On Buddha Mountain, when Tian appeared with demon might, lightning surged, and a world-destroying might spread out. In front, the black-clad king and Yama in Red's expressions turned serious at the same time. Their figures flashed out. After 100 years, they worked together again. Palm against palm. Rumbling sounds resounded throughout Buddha Mountain. Amidst the lightning, snowflakes swept up. Every move was close to Jun Wentian. Palm against sword, cold light flashed in the night sky. Dust and sand flew in the demon chi. Every move was made, and the demon wave chased after the soul. The two strongest people and the strongest opponents advanced with each move. Their auras were boundless, and their shocking abilities shook the hearts of the many experts on Buddha Mountain. Scorching sun, picking the stars from the 9 heavens, the might of which could scorch the sun. Yama in Red condensed his chi and activated his true vitality. As their moves intersected, he raised his hand and grabbed Jun Wentian's arm. With a boom, Jun Wentian took the palm head-on. With a flip of his left hand, he blocked the king's life-taking sword. Back off! With a shout, demon chi erupted from Jun Wentian's body, pushing the two away. His expression turned cold for the first time. You two are not bad. Now the battle officially begins. As soon as he finished speaking, thunder rumbled in the sky. Amidst the surging lightning, a peerless divine weapon appeared in the mortal world. It had 3 points and 2 blades, and its demon might was overwhelming. Chapter 903. In the Battle of Buddha Mountain, the promise of 10 moves to repel thousands of demons. The first protector displayed his might, and the 3 points and 2 blades reappeared in the world. The appearance of the divine weapon caused demonic waves to surge. The shocking power stirred up the clouds and shook the heavens and earth. On the other side of the battle, the black-robed king and the red-robed Yama's expressions turned serious. They no longer hesitated and rushed out, joining forces to display the power of the God-Slayer, picking the stars and breaking through the sky, shocking the world. The foundation was vast and mighty, condensing frost into the form of a palm that broke through the sky. The moment they clashed, the momentum was vigorous, and the palm power shook the sea. Jun Wentian's steps turned, and the 3 points and 2 blades were like dragons soaring through the clouds. With a spear in hand, he was invincible. 10 moves clashed, and the palm power shook the divine weapon. Boundless flames of war surged, instantly destroying mountains and splitting peaks. 9 heavens star-picking hand rising rain. The red-robed Yama's body was like an illusion, jumping, soaring, dodging, and shifting. His palm was vigorous, and the power of 1,000 caddies roared. Jun Wentian's spinning spear met the attack, and his body turned into nothingness. Peerless martial arts, he displayed the power to conquer the world. With a rumble, the danger of doomsday appeared. The king was fearless, and the demon sword shook the world. The two attacked together, and the demon sword moved side by side. Frost swept out, and demonic waves surged, shocking the world. Even the first protector of the Devil Palace couldn't gain the upper hand. The strength of these two is even greater than expected. Outside the battle, the Moon Weaver looked at the battle on Buddha Mountain with a serious expression. The Saint Arbiter didn't forcefully stop this battle. I think she wants to see how strong these two are, Bai Wangran said. So many terrifying experts have appeared out of nowhere. Could it be that the underworld really hasn't been destroyed yet? Moon Weaver said in a low voice. Bai Wangran shook his head and said, I don't know. This matter can only be judged by the Saint Arbiter. However, regardless of whether these people are really from the underworld, there is no need to doubt their strength. First, it was the 9th son of Mahis Gate. Now there is the Yama king of the underworld. I originally thought that by destroying the inheritances of the Qilin Pavilion and the Heaven-Mending Pavilion, the Devil Palace's conquest of the world would be smoother. I never thought that we would encounter even greater trouble, Moon Weaver said coldly. The 9th disciple of the Mahis sect? Bai Wangran looked at the barefoot woman in the sky and said, As long as she's here, there's no need to fear the 9th son of Mahis clan. Above the 9 heavens, demonic butterfly, who was wearing a blue dress, stood quietly. Her blood-red hair danced in the wind. Her cold eyes looked down below, making it impossible for people to see the warmth of the world. The netherworld heaven-devouring demon scripture is a forbidden art. When it devours another's essence, it also devours their consciousness and memories. Our Devil Palace sacrificed 10 true realm exalts in exchange for this trump card. How could we not use it to its fullest potential? Moon Weaver said indifferently. Unfortunately, this woman's will is too firm. Otherwise, we would be able to obtain even more information about Mo Gate's 9th disciple and the inner world, said Bai Wangran in a cold voice. We don't have the energy to deal with the inner world at the moment. This woman came to the sky beyond heaven through the broken underworld barrier between the inner world's demonic wheel sea and the eastern immortal world. According to her memories, this place is not suitable for a large army to pass through. It's also very dangerous. Before our Devil Palace's conquest of the world is settled, we can't afford to divert our attention and send troops here, said Moon Weaver with a grave expression. Bai Wangran nodded. This matter cannot be rushed. Once the situation is settled and the Holy Arbiter has extracted more memories from Flower Butterfly's consciousness, we can decide whether to send troops to the inner world. As the two conversed, Jietians looked down at the battle on Buddha Mountain. After a long time, he retracted his gaze and looked at the woman in front of him. Mrs. Duty in the underworld should be to oversee King Chujiang's palace, right? What advice does the Holy Arbiter have for me? Under the evil face mask, Luotian looked at the Devil Palace manager in front of her and replied. I've always been curious. Since ancient times, The underworld's 10 halls have been on equal footing and have all served the Yama King. Why is it that in this generation, you are instead serving under the Yama King? Jiatian said calmly. Is the Holy Arbiter trying to sow discord? Luotian asked with a smile. I'm just curious, Jiatian replied. You don't have to worry about the matters of the underworld, Holy Arbiter. Instead, the Devil Palace seems to have more trouble. A disobedient guardian is really damaging to the dignity of the Holy Arbiter. Luotian said softly. The underworld's monarchs are indeed eloquent. I admire you. Jiatian said lightly. You flatter me. Luotian smiled. I've long heard of the wisdom of the Devil Palace's Holy Arbiter, but I've never had the chance to experience it. Today, I've seen it for myself. When Jiatian heard this, an undetectable coldness flashed in the depths of his eyes. Today's game was half a chess piece away, but it was worth it to lure out these people. Many people were watching, and the sounds of battle were shouting. On Buddha Mountain, the battle between the underworld and the Devil Palace was getting more intense. Devil Chi surged around the king, while the King of Hell was surrounded by wind and snow. The two powerhouses joined forces to go against the flow and slay immortals. The first guardian of the Devil Palace was at the peak of the current era. With the three-pointed dual blades in his hand, his strength was indeed infinitely close to the Qilin Patriarch, even though he hadn't reached the 4th level yet. With his blood and chi at the peak, his combat strength multiplied. With the support of the divine weapon, he was even more domineering. The divine weapons clashed, and the mountains cracked. Buddha Mountain, which had experienced consecutive battles, was finally unable to withstand the aftermath of the battle between the three. It split into two from the middle, and the mountain rocks danced and fell like rain. Where's your sword? Why don't you come out? After 100 moves, Jun Wentian waved his spear and pushed the King of Hell back. He looked at the red-clothed King of Hell beside him and asked, 2 against 1, I've already taken advantage of you. I really can't bring myself to use my sword to force you. The red-clothed King of Hell said, and his figure moved forward again. He gathered the energy in his palm and used his chi as a whip. Jun Wentian took a step forward, and his figure flashed, avoiding the cold light. Then, the divine spear pierced through the air and returned. As the spear approached, a sense of danger attacked. In an instant, the black-clothed figure flashed past, and the devil's sword swept across the sky, and devil chi surged. The King of Hell took half a step back, and the corner of his mouth turned red. 2 against 1, and the two kings of the underworld were the first to be injured. The situation was dangerous. The red-clothed King of Hell flipped his palm, and scattered the remaining energy in front of the King of Hell. His gaze turned cold. Sorry, I take back what I said earlier. The red-clothed King of Hell took a step back, and he clenched his right hand. Suddenly, the brilliance of the stars fell from the sky. In an earth-shattering vision, a blood-red divine sword appeared in the world. The astral soul was born, and the wind and clouds gathered. Shadow of the remnant wind. The sword moved, and the red-clothed King of Hell flashed past. The desolate city's ultimate technique appeared again after 100 years. The extremely fast sword was simple yet sharp. The sword returned to its original form, and the light flashed past the eyes. Jun Wentian's expression turned serious, and he waved his spear to block the sword. With a bang, the person in front of him was pushed back. The red-clothed King of Hell took a step forward, and used the momentum to enter the sky. His sword rotated to the extreme, and the 10,000 swords returned to the origin gathered behind him. Sword light gathered behind him, forming a pair of huge sword wings. In the next moment, the sword wings vibrated, and thousands of sword light broke through the sky, cutting through the night sky and descending on the world. It's her move. Outside the battle, Luofei Mu Qianshang and the others saw this scene, and their eyes flashed. Although 100 years had passed, he still hadn't forgotten her. Chapter 904. In the sky above Buddha Mountain, the desolate city's supreme art appeared. The red-clothed Yama waved his sword and 10,000 swords turned into sword wings. In an instant he fell from the sky. Jun Wentian narrowed his eyes, and the trident in his hand spun rapidly. Waves of air swept out, and thunder rumbled. Powerful lightning elemental energy transformed into the form of a Qilin, and the cry of a Qilin echoed throughout the world. Sword Qi and the Qilin collided, their extreme powers clashing against each other. The aftershocks roared wildly, rolling up sand into waves and splitting the ground into valleys. Strange martial arts, you are making me more and more interested. Jun Wentian took a step forward and entered the void. He waved his divine weapon and thunder roared in the 9 heavens. In our eyes, you are also very interesting. The red-robed Yama swung his sword to block the attack. Boundless chilliness spread out, and with a loud boom, he clashed head-on with the 3 sharp blades. Divine weapons clashed, striking cold stars intersecting. The 2 of them advanced instead of retreating. Palms and elbows collided, fists, arms, and limbs collided. In the blink of an eye, heavy blows were exchanged. After exchanging several blows, waves of sand swirled about. Amidst the waves of dust, the figure of a king shot out. The sword light of the demon sword swallowed and spat out as he entered the battle once more. Jun Wentian twisted his body and dodged the sword light. Immediately after, he activated his palm energy and countered with a powerful attack. The king was fearless. The wings of sin unfolded behind him, and with the support of magic, he raised his palm to meet the attack head-on. With a rumbling sound, the heavens shook and the earth shook. Boundless demonic energy surged, and the aftermath whistled through the peak. Star-plucking hand's final move, reverse formlessness. The moment the devil cultivator was restrained, the red-robed Yama once again activated his extreme origin energy. As the frigid snow surged, his palm landed heavily on the devil cultivator's chest. With a muffled groan, Jun Wentian was sent flying. 30 meters away, Jun Wentian managed to stop himself. A trace of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. This was the first time he had been injured since the start of the battle. The ultimate style, the formless style, the Qilin's unique skill had once again displayed its wondrous ability. The true energy inside Jun Wentian's body was constantly overflowing, and it was difficult for him to gather it for a while. Now that an opportunity had appeared, Jun Wentian couldn't afford to miss it. His astral soul raised his sword as a blood-red light flashed. The red-robed Yama's silhouette flashed past, slashing down with a single strike, leaving Jun Wentian dead. When the divine weapons clashed again, Jun Wentian found it difficult to condense his true origin. He had already lost 30% of the initiative in his moves, and was at a disadvantage for the time being. Behind him, the silhouette of a king arrived at the same time. The Mad Doomsday attacked with every move, the palms and swords intertwined, and the divine weapons fought for supremacy. Zila, using his astral souls to suppress the divine spear, Jun Wentian's arm fell to the ground. The situation was extremely dangerous. Outside the battle, the Moonweaver Maiden and Bai Wangran's expressions sank at the same time, their eyes solemn. The combined might of the 2 of them was beyond imagination. Even Jun Wentian had fallen into a disadvantageous position. Didn't that mean that they were no match for them? What on earth is the Saint Arbiter thinking? Why haven't you stopped this battle? The first protector could not be defeated. Even if it was 2 against 1, he could not be defeated. Otherwise, it would be a great blow to the morale of the generals of the Devil Palace. The Saint has his own arrangements. We only need to follow his orders. The Moonweaver gazed at the blue-robed man standing silently in the air. In the sky above the battlefield, Luotian sensed the gazes from afar. She smiled and said, "Holy Arbiter, your 2 protectors seem to be worried. Why? Are you not going to stop this battle? Or do you want to borrow the hands of the underworld to get rid of this disobedient general?" "Miss, there's no need for you to sow discord. If Jun Wentian's strength is only so, how could he have earned the title of the #1 protector of the Devil Palace?" Jia Tian said indifferently. "Oh." A strange look flashed in Luo Shun's eyes. She raised her right hand. Instantly, the air currents in the world moved slowly, and sand waves rose without wind. Jia Tian saw this and raised his hand. 4 black and white stones appeared, each landing on one side, and suppressing the flowing air currents. "Miss, are you going to make a move?" Jia Tian asked indifferently. "No." Luo Shun shook her head lightly. She lowered her hand again and said, "The Saint Arbiter is here. How would I dare to make a move? However, if the Saint Arbiter doesn't like this protector, I don't mind cleaning him up for you." Her voice, which was not deliberately suppressed, drifted away with the wind. The expressions of the people of the Devil Palace changed as they looked at the two people in the sky. Jun Wentian's disobedience was a fact. It was not impossible for the Saint Arbiter to kill him because of this. The exchange of blows was like a knife hidden in a smile. Below, the battle was also full of killing intent. The attacks of the kings in Yama were incomparably fierce. Jun Wentian was beginning to show signs of defeat. After exchanging more than 10 moves, the Devil Sword and Star Soul joined hands to block the attacks. Heavy punches landed on Jun Wentian's body. Jun Wentian let out a muffled groan and retreated another 10 feet. The blood on his chest dyed his battle clothes red. It has been 1,000 years. The feeling of death is so nostalgic. Instead of getting angry, Jun Wentian laughed. He raised his hand to wipe away the blood at the corner of his mouth. He looked at the two extremely powerful people in front of him. 3 pointed and 2 blades appeared in the sky. His hands circulated the ultimate essence. Amidst the rolling demonic waves, the winds and clouds of the 9 heavens changed. Thousands of lightning bolts rumbled and fell to the world. When the red-clothed Yama and the black-clothed king saw this, their expressions turned serious. They did not dare to be careless. They took a step forward and rushed out. Ha! A long roar that shook the 9 heavens resounded. Strange light shone around Jun Wentian. A third eye appeared in the middle of his brows. Instantly, demonic waves rolled for 10,000 miles. The heavenly might shook the world. Amidst the muffled groans, the kings in Yama took a few steps back. Their faces were filled with shock. Not good. At this moment, the bodies of the Yama who were watching the battle trembled. Their expressions changed drastically. Amidst the rolling demonic waves, the heaven's eye opened. A dazzling light broke through the sky. The aftershock swept across, and half of the Buddha mountain collapsed. Amidst the crisis, it was too late to dodge. The red-clothed Yama stepped forward and condensed his essence to block the attack. At this moment, the black-clothed figure flashed and blocked the attack. The mad doomsday demonic waves surged and blocked the strange light. The mad doomsday demonic waves broke. The mad doomsday demonic waves broke. The strange light penetrated the body, and a waterfall of blood splattered. The red-clothed Yama's pupils shrank. He waved his sword to disperse the aftershock. Then he stepped forward and supported the fallen king. Retreat. Just as he said this word, the king's arm drooped down, and he fainted. The red-clothed Yama's body trembled. His eyes were bloodshot. Demonic chi was faintly discernible. He was so angry that his demonic form was about to appear. On the other side of the battle, Jun Wentian, who had used a power that surpassed his realm, had a drop of blood drip down from the eye between his brows. King of Hell, retreat. In the battle, the white-clothed figure appeared. She raised her hand to suppress the demonic aura that was about to erupt. The red-clothed Yama's expression changed. He suppressed the demonic chi in his body, and looked at the number 1 protector of the Devil Palace. He said coldly, "We have lost this battle. We will meet again in the future, regardless of life or death." After he finished speaking, the red-clothed Yama carried the unconscious king, and disappeared into the night sky. After King Yama left, Chujiang, Emperor Song, Wuguan, Taishan, and the Yama kings of reincarnation also left. After the Yama kings left, Jun Wentian staggered on the collapsed Buddha mountain. He spat out a mouthful of blood. His injuries had worsened. "Brother." The Moonweaver's figure flashed past and supported Jun Wentian with concern. "I'm fine." Jun Wentian pushed the woman away. He looked in the direction where the red-clothed Yama disappeared. His eyes flashed. What a good Yama king of the underworld. From now on, the Devil Palace will not be lonely. Let's go back. Above the void, Jietians glanced at them and said lightly. He took a step forward and merged into the void, disappearing without a trace. At the top of the 9 heavens, the blue-clothed woman turned and left. From the beginning to the end, she did not say a word. "Brother, let's go too." The moon weaver said softly. Jun Wentian nodded. He looked at the heavenly Buddha Lord, who had been cultivating with his eyes closed. After a while he stepped forward and disappeared into the night sky. Everyone left one after another. Half of the destroyed Buddha mountain collapsed. It was like the end of the world, shocking everyone. Amitabha. On the Buddha mountain many white-clothed novice monks chanted. Even though they had entered the Buddhist sect, they were still moved by this desolate scene. At the intersection of the three domains, many figures flashed. The red-clothed Yama in the lead waved his hand and dispersed the divine restriction. Then he flashed past and rushed towards the 10 Yama halls below. Behind him, the other Yama kings of the underworld leaped and followed with heavy expressions. Within the Yama halls, everyone took off their Yama masks and returned to their original appearances. They looked at the severely injured and unconscious king in front of them with worried expressions. Ningchen raised his hand and activated his foundation. The life scripture's power poured into the former's body. The beginning of the heavenly book was compatible with all the physiques in the world, helping the king to heal. At the side, Luo Fei stood there quietly, not saying a word. Don't worry, he will be fine. Luo Fei stepped forward and comforted her softly. Luo Fei forced a smile and continued to look at the person in front of her. For a moment, she could not hear any comforting words. Behind them, Luo Xingqian and the others waited quietly with heavy expressions. No one had expected the ability of the Devil Palace's first protector. That power had obviously surpassed the third realm. It was shocking. Time passed little by little. Ning Chen's face became gloomier and gloomier. Wind and snow surged around him, suppressing the strange power in Xia Zi's body. An hour later, the wind and snow stopped. Ning Chen retracted his hand, but his expression was still heavy. How is he? Is he better? Luo Fei asked anxiously. She could no longer suppress her emotions. No, he is in critical condition, Ning Chen said with a heavy expression. I can only temporarily suppress the strange power in his body, but I cannot expel it. We must find a way to heal him as soon as possible. Otherwise, Zi's life will soon be in danger. Luo Fei's body trembled and sorrow flashed in her eyes. How could this be? I'm sorry. The apology was filled with guilt and self-blame. Ningchen clenched his fists, hating himself for his mistake. Luo Fei suppressed the sorrow in her heart and shook her head. This is not your fault. He chose to go against Jun Wentian. You have done well enough. At least, we have won the first round. After speaking, Luo Fei stepped forward and picked up Xia Zi. She looked at everyone in the hall and said, I will bring Zi back to rest. I will have to trouble everyone to deal with the rest. Luo Xingqian, Mu Qianshang, and the others nodded and softly acknowledged. Knowing destiny. After Luo Fei left, Mu Qianshang stepped forward and patted the shoulder of the person in front of him. He calmly said, This is just the beginning. Don't let us see your cowardice. In the first round, we still won against the Saint Priest. It was just that there were some unexpected variables. This is not something that anyone can predict. Your responsibility is the most important. You must not lose your calm. Chapter 905. The 10 halls of the underworld stood majestically. The ancient inheritance that had never seen the light of day stood in the starry sky, overlooking the world after it was reopened. Gains and losses in a round, gains and losses in a general, what was more important? Before King Yama, knowing destiny was silent. He already had an answer in his heart. He had won the first round, but he had also lost. Knowing destiny, don't be too harsh on yourself. Unknowingly, Mo Bai's figure appeared behind him. He looked at the person in front of him and said, Once the war begins, there will be casualties. Zi won't blame you. Luo Fei is the same. If it were anyone else, they wouldn't have done better today. Ningchen turned around and looked at his good friend in front of him. He said softly, Brother Mu, I understand what you mean. Thank you. Mu Qianshang smiled and said, We can think of a way to treat Zi's injury. Over the years, we have weathered so many storms. Why should we be afraid of these small waves? It's because we have weathered so many storms that I don't want anything to happen to our friends who have survived. However, my good friend is right. We can overcome even greater difficulties. Compared to the past, this matter is not worth mentioning. I will lead everyone through it as soon as possible. Ning Chen's expression became firm again. Ha! Mu Qianshang chuckled and said, "This is the knowing destiny that I know. Scheming and expedient schemes are not my forte. Only you can worry about it. These 100 days of peace did not come easily. What's the next step? Have you thought about it?" Ning Chen listened quietly. After a moment, he nodded gently. Mu Qianshang looked at the man beside him and said, "I think you know better than us that the Buddha kingdom cannot be saved. Whether to keep it or to abandon it is your choice. No matter what, we will respect your decision." "It's done," Ning Chen said softly. His eyes gradually deepened as he said, "Next, it's time to do what we should do." "I am relieved that you have made this decision." Mu Qianshang nodded. Forcefully protecting the Buddha kingdom would only cause more casualties. Knowing destiny knew this better than them. However, sometimes, knowing did not mean that one could do it. The Buddha kingdom was indebted to knowing destiny. Giving it up was not easy. Jun Wentian's strength was the biggest problem at the moment. If they had to hide their identities, their strength would be limited. It was especially so for those in the knowing destiny state, who couldn't use the divine sword or the divine prohibition in their hands. It wouldn't be easy to stop Jun Wentian. If they insisted on protecting the Buddhist kingdom, they would have to use their full strength. If that happened, their identities would very likely be exposed, which would be extremely disadvantageous for their future operations. "Brother Mu, are you worried that I will be soft-hearted?" "My good friend, you don't have to worry about this. I have done many things where success is built on the bones of thousands. This time is no exception." Ning Chen sighed. Knowing destiny. Mu Qianshang's expression turned serious as he said, "Right now, it is not that you have given up on the Buddha kingdom, but that the Buddha kingdom really cannot be saved. You have already done enough for the Buddha kingdom. There is no need to feel guilty. The Buddha kingdom is not the great Xia. It is impossible for us to save everyone. We have done our best, that is enough." Ning Chen looked at the night sky in front of him and said, "I understand. I will think carefully about how to use the final value of the Buddhist kingdom to inflict the greatest damage to the demon palace." Mu Qianshang nodded. Although it was cruel, this was the reality. "Jiming, although your cultivation talent is not as good as ours, you are the smartest among us. Sometimes you are troubled because you can see too much. Listen to my advice, treat yourself better. Some burdens should be put down. All this time, you have been too harsh on yourself. The wind and frost you have experienced in the past 100 years is much more than those old monsters who have lived for 1,000 years. I don't know how you have survived, but are you really not tired?" Mu Qianshang said softly. Ning Chen was silent and did not answer. "All right, I won't talk to you anymore. That girl of yours has been eyeing me for a long time. If I continue to occupy you, that girl will come after me." Mu Qianshang sighed softly and smiled. Without saying anything more, he waved his hand towards the back and turned to walk towards his palace. Behind him, Iner pointed her nose at the former, expressing the dissatisfaction in her heart. She then ran to the front of the palace and hugged the arm of the person beside her, saying softly, "Ning Chen, I'll practice the sword for you, okay?" Ning Chen's gaze shifted and looked at the girl beside him. A gentle smile appeared on his face as he said, "Why are you so diligent today, taking the initiative to think of practicing the sword? I don't like to see you unhappy. I want to help you," Iner said softly. Ning Chen smiled softly and reached out to ruffle the former's hair, saying, "All right, I'm fine. You haven't cultivated as long as us, so you won't be able to interfere in a battle of this level for the time being. Master is already very happy that you have such intentions." Iner pouted and said, "But I want to help you." "Then let Master think. What can you do now?" Ning Chen pretended to think for a while, then patted the former's head and said with a smile, "Hurry up and go to sleep now. Maybe when you wake up, the heavenly speech source in your body will be completely awakened. Then, you will be invincible in the world." "Emph." Iner turned her head angrily and shook off the hand on her head. She said unhappily, If you think I'm stupid, then just say it. I'm ignoring you. I'm going to sleep. Turned and ran back to the imperial palace behind her, looking very unhappy. When returned to the palace, Ning Chen's expression turned serious again. He looked at the night sky in front of him, and streams of light flashed past. There were less than 100 days until the Demon Palace's next attack on Buddha Mountain. It wasn't a long time, but it was enough. Other than the matter of Buddha Mountain, the other most important thing now was Zi's injury. The power controlled by the third eye between Jun Wentian's brows had already surpassed the third realm. It was strange and powerful, and he couldn't get rid of it. Now that the fourth realm hadn't appeared, only Jun Wentian himself would know how to get rid of this strange power. The one who started the trouble should end it. He had to make another trip. Thinking of this, Ning Chen looked at the palace behind him. He clenched his right hand, and swords flew over and disappeared in an instant. Do you still want to go alone? As she spoke, the void swirled, and a picturesque figure appeared. Seeing the person who came, Ning Chen didn't look surprised. He nodded and said, "Right now, I'm the only one who can face Jun Wentian head-on. Your whereabouts can't be exposed. I'll take action as the ninth son of Mahis clan. This is the only way. King Aaron and Jian Heir haven't taken action yet. Why don't you let them go and help you?" Luoshan asked softly. "The combat power of the 10 kings of hell can't be lost. If they help me this time, they won't be able to appear as kings of hell again in the future. The loss outweighs the gain. Luoshan, I know that your control of the laws is extraordinary. Please help me stabilize the fluctuations of the divine restriction, and don't let them know," Ning Chen requested. "I understand. Be careful." Luoshan didn't persuade him anymore and replied softly. Chapter 906. In the starry sky, the divine restriction formed by thousands of meteors dissipated, and a white-clothed figure with dazzling white hair walked out. In an instant, he disappeared into the distance. Mahis Gate's ninth son had appeared once more. For the sake of his close friend's injury, he had reignited his peerless sharpness. In the endless starry sky, the phoenix moved at extreme speed. Its red wings opened and closed, covering thousands of miles in an instant. In the northern region of the all-heaven starfield, the flames of war spread. The Demon Palace's northern army was unstoppable. After days of continuous battles, the northern region was unified. The head of the demon army, Jun Wentian, stood with his spear. He was an undefeatable divine general, causing the world to fear him. Just at this moment, thousands of sword shadows crisscrossed the sky. On an exceptionally dazzling divine sword, a white-clothed figure with white hair arrived. His aura was incomparably powerful, shocking the demon army. That familiar appearance was known to the world. Light flashed through Jun Wentian's eyes. Mahis Gate's ninth son had finally come. Ning Chen looked at the first protector of the demon palace in front of him. He calmly said, "We can't use it here. Let's find another place." "Sure." Knowing that the newcomer was extraordinary, Jun Wentian's battle intent also ignited. Ning Chen's figure turned around, and with a step, he flew toward the distant peak. Jun Wentian followed, turning into a streak of light and flying away together. Behind them, the demon generals looked at each other in dismay. They were shocked by this sudden challenge. The head of the 3 demon generals, a purple-armored woman, said, "Immediately report this to the holy priest." "Yes." Another demon general nodded and solemnly replied. 1,000 miles away from the demon army, on the heavenly guard's 12 peaks, 2 experts descended from the sky. Genesis Supreme unsheathed himself, and a dazzling brilliance filled his eyes. The Taoist Gate's famed peak had reappeared in the world. He took a step forward, and his body condensed yin and yang. Ice and fire appeared at the same time, shocking the world. The sword and palm clashed, and the aftershocks spread out. Sword chi and palm energy entered the surroundings, and unfathomably deep ravines appeared, deep into the mountain. The battle between the 2 experts did not distinguish between good and evil, as it had already been blurred. Both of them had serious expressions, and their attacks were majestic. If they wanted to fight, then let's fight. Why would there be so many reasons? After 10 moves, The sword light became more and more dazzling. The only sword in the world was so dazzling that it was difficult to look at it. Your reputation is not in vain. You are worthy of my full strength. Palm against palm, the battle was decided in an instant. Jun Wentian raised his hand to summon wind and thunder, and the three sharp blades appeared. Holding the spear, the divine weapon broke the sword light. With a loud rumble, fire sword and snow swayed. Within the yin and yang, Ningchen raised his hand and pointed. Sword chi condensed at the tip of his finger, breaking through the heart. With rapt attention, Jun Wentian tilted his body to avoid the sword chi. Then, the three tips and two blades spun around, and the tail blade spun rapidly as he made a powerful counterattack. His sword finger turned back, clanging against the divine weapon. Taisher swung it, killing light whistling through the air as it went for the throat. Jun Wentian flipped his palm and concentrated his energy. Wind and thunder filled the sky as the Qilin materialized and took the sword light head-on. The confrontation at the pinnacle caused several shocking moves. Rumbling sounds echoed throughout the mountain peak. Both of them were the strongest in the world. Although they had only exchanged a few moves, they were already praising each other. He is so capable, yet he is helping the evildoer to do evil and slaughter the world. How sad. Frost condensed on the sword and phoenix fire lingered. Ningchen activated the energy of yin and yang again. The two extremes intertwined and appeared together. Under the slanting moonlight, the eyes were filled with blazing bloodlight. Your hands are also stained with blood. You and I are the same. Who is qualified to judge the other? Jun Wentian said coldly. He took a step forward, and the three tips and two blades gathered thousands of thunderbolts. In an instant, the aurora was dazzling and the thunder roared. The next moment, the two figures crossed each other. The thunderbolts shook the yin and yang, and the clouds in the sky changed. With a loud rumble, heavy rain poured down. Scroll of earth, thousand turns of earth. The sword turned around and stabbed into the ground. Ningchen moved his palms, and the martial arts of the heavenly book appeared again. The ground shook and folded from the middle, pressing down on the protector of the demonic palace. Heavenly book? Jun Wentian's eyes narrowed slightly. He stepped into the air and avoided the rising ground. Ningchen looked up, and a strange look flashed across his face. He stomped his feet, and jumped into the air with his sword. The cold sword light crossed again, and the blue sword waves merged with the sky. Scroll of heaven, pardon heaven. Heaven and earth crossed, and the martial arts were shocking. The knowing destiny with a sword in hand was the only one between heaven and earth. Jun Wentian focused and raised his hand to summon wind and thunder. Layers of destructive thunderbolts spread in all directions and blocked the blue sword waves. Before the aftermath of the two moves ended, the white-clothed figure appeared again. The Taisher snow encircled, and the energy in his palms ignited the flames. The sword and palms moved together, leaving no room for breathing. Jun Wentian was also not afraid. He condensed the energy in his palms and summoned wind and thunder with his divine weapon. He faced the person in front of him head-on. From the sky to the peak, the two figures kept crossing each other. Sword chi, spear radiance, thunderbolts, and wind and snow swept in all directions. The mountains on the 12 peaks of Tianwei collapsed one after another, and the sand turned into waves and falling stones became rain. Outside the battle, many demon generals arrived. However, without Jun Wentian's permission, no one dared to interfere. The battle became more and more intense. 1 moment, 2 minutes. It was hard to tell who was better. The two extremes of martial arts were at the peak. The dominator of weapons and the king of weapons competed with each other. On the peak, Ningchen's left hand pointed at the sword. Suddenly, the undercurrent on the Taisher sword rushed out. The wind and snow opened, and the phoenix fire condensed into the sea. The yin and yang formation opened, and the Taisher formation rose into the sky. Is this your sword? It's still not enough. Jun Wentian shouted. His martial yuan rushed into the sky, and the azure gold crown shattered. His long hair danced in the wind, and lightning covered his body. The battle became white-hot again. In the distance, several figures descended from the sky and stood in the void to watch the battle. The legend of Mahis sect and the undefeated protector of the Devil Palace were two people who had never lost. Who would win and continue the legend of being undefeated? Every expert present paid attention to the battle. In terms of emotion, the Devil Palace was now wreaking havoc in the world, so they were more inclined to believe that the ninth disciple of Mahis sect would win. In terms of logic, the combat power displayed by the first protector of the Devil Palace in the Battle of Buddha Mountain was not something that anyone below the fourth level could defeat. On the peak, the downpour became more and more intense. The battle between the two became more and more intense. The sword was stronger, and the spear was heavier. Even if it was not for the world or for all living beings, it was just a battle between martial arts practitioners. Haven't the Saint Priest and the others arrived yet? Seeing that the eastern horizon had turned white, the leader of the three demon generals, the purple-armored woman, asked in a low voice. They should be here soon. Before she finished speaking, three figures walked out from the peak in the distance. The leader was dressed in a blue brocade robe. His expression was cold as he watched the battle in front of him. The ninth disciple of Mahis sect, it's him again. Behind them, Moonweaver's eyes were filled with killing intent as she said in a low voice. Saint Priest, this person is a great threat to the future of the Devil Palace. Attacking now is the best chance to get rid of him. Bai Wangran suggested. Jie Tiance raised his hand to stop the former and said calmly, since this person dares to attack, how can he not be prepared? Besides, they should be here soon. As soon as he finished speaking, figures descended from the sky. There were 5 of them in total, and their faces were covered with the evil faces of Yama. Their auras were so powerful that no one dared to underestimate them. Seeing the 5 of them, Jie Tiance's eyes narrowed. Suddenly he looked to the other side, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. He had also come. At this moment, on the peak in the distance, a red-haired figure appeared. He wore a Yama mask, and his aura was like an abyss unfathomable. Is it knowing destiny? How is it possible? One of the 5 Yama looked at the peak in the distance and said in shock. What's impossible? Under the Song Emperor's Yama mask, Mu Qianshang looked at the red-haired figure in the distance and said in a low voice. He has 2 doppelgangers and the Chaos Scroll to hide his aura. Before he attacked, he must have expected this situation and deliberately left a backup plan to deceive the Saint Priest of the Devil Palace and the people of the world. Mo Gate's 9th disciple and Yama appeared at the same time. There was no better way to dispel the suspicions of the world. Should we help? Under the other Yama mask, Luo Xingqian asked. Mu Qianshang shook his head and said, if the enemy doesn't move, I won't move. We don't know what knowing destiny's plan is, so we can't act rashly and ruin his plan. On the peak in the distance, the red-haired Yama's figure flashed. In an instant, he arrived in front of the 5 and said indifferently, he told me to tell you not to attack. You are a devil? Hearing the coldness in the former's voice, Mu Qianshang's expression turned serious and he slowly said. The red-haired Yama did not answer. He stood there quietly, coldly watching the battle in the distance. Various forces appeared to watch the unprecedented battle. On Tianwei's 12 peaks, sword chi and lightning crisscrossed, each showing their peak abilities. I know your abilities are not limited to this. Use your full strength and amaze me. Jun Wentian raised his palm and shook off the raging phoenix fire in front of his eyes. His fist condensed into lightning, and he punched out with the power to break the sky, frightening gods and ghosts. Ning Chun waved his sword and blocked the strong move. With a bang, his body drew 2 steps back and his sword stabbed into the ground. Sword chi broke through the ground. Jun Wentian took a step and swept his body, dodging the sword light that rushed out. He waved his 3-pointed double-edged swords across the sky and used his ultimate move. With a raise of his hand, Trapping Immortal appeared and landed on the ground. The sky was filled with red light. Ning Chen's figure moved with extreme speed. His afterimages were hard to see, but his sword was dazzling. A sonorous sound resounded through the peak. The divine weapons clashed at an extreme speed. Suddenly, the red sword light soared into the sky like a waterfall. Trapping Immortal showed off its might and attacked aggressively. Jun Wentian dodged, but he missed by a hair. A sword light slashed across his chest, bringing out a brilliant waterfall of blood. Back off! With injuries on his body, Jun Wentian furrowed his brows. He shouted and slapped out, landing on the chest of the person in front of him. Ugh! With a muffled groan, Ning Chen's figure slid back 10 feet. He stabilized himself, and the remaining force was discharged. The mountain behind him collapsed and fell down the mountain. In a situation where both sides were injured, it was difficult to determine the winner. The blood that flowed on the ground was so dazzling. The fighting spirit of the two strongest people in the world was constantly accumulating. They swallowed the blood, suppressed their injuries, and stepped forward, once again taking advantage of each other. Outside the battlefield, all the experts were watching this shocking battle, and their hearts were filled with a myriad of emotions. In a one-on-one battle, the ninth son of Mo Gate is actually able to fight evenly with brother, Moonweaver said in shock. He was able to defeat the old ancestor of Qilin Pavilion, not only by scheming. Without the corresponding support of martial strength, any strategy is worthless, Jie Tiant said indifferently. Does Saint Priest mean that the ninth son of Mo Gate already has the ability to be on equal footing with Jun Wentian? Bai Wangren asked seriously. Although it is not what I wish to see, it is already a fact. Jie Tiant nodded and said calmly, in this battle, if Jun Wentian can't kill him from now on, unless the Devil Lord personally appears, no one in the world can do anything to him. Chapter 907. On the 12 peaks of Tianwei, the flames of war filled the sky, and the murderous light was bone-chilling. The two unparalleled experts unleashed their full power, and their brilliance split the heavens and the earth. Their palms crossed, and they were drenched in sweat. The two of them were fearless, and their moves were incomparably violent. In the blink of an eye, they split the mountains. As they clashed, the aurora of the battle was dazzling. The Taisher sword was engulfed in phoenix fire, and the wind and snow coiled around it. The Taoism's peerless edge showed its might, and the sword hummed continuously, echoing through the night sky. As the two palms clashed, a glaring cold light shone in all directions. The two palms clashed, and waves of qi surged. The two experts exchanged injuries continuously, and their fists and palms collided. In the east, the sun had already risen, and the torrential rain in the sky gradually stopped. The dark clouds dispersed, and the first rays of dawn shone down. A night had passed, and on the peak, the battle had gone on for an unknown amount of time. The two of them were already injured, and their clothes were dyed red with blood, adding to the killing intent of the battle. In terms of foundation and experience, the two of them were at the peak, and neither of them held back. Facing such an opponent, any mercy would be disrespectful. Outside the battle, the experts of the underworld, the Demon Palace, and other forces were facing each other. No one dared to make a move, and the world witnessed that before this battle ended, no one had the right to interfere. 11. With a thought, thousands of sword auras rose into the sky. Ning Chen's sword will rose, and the perfect move that exhausted the limits of the sword appeared in the world again. Nirvana. 11 was unleashed, and Nirvana condensed again. Ning Chen put his left hand together and raised his yuan. Suddenly, a magnificent sword light coiled out and rushed to the 9 heavens. The two ultimate sword moves of the present age appeared at the same time. In an instant, the accumulated sword will on the 12 peaks of Tianwei exploded, and the mountains collapsed and the ground was overturned. Knowing that this move was shocking, Jun Wentian didn't dare to be careless. With a shout, the three pointed and two blades in his hand whistled, and thunder rumbled from the 9 heavens. The move of the 9 transformations mysterious art appeared for the first time. Xianhuang World Creation. This ultimate move was used against the strongest enemy in his life. Jun Wentian sank his yuan, and the Xianhuang aura overflowed, gathering the thunder in the mysterious art, and rushed out. In an instant, the sword auras and the thunder collided, and endless destructive power spread out. The 12 peaks of Tianwei couldn't withstand the power anymore, and sank into the ground. The peak transformed into an abyss, a world-shocking scene that shook everyone's hearts. The aftermath of the battle rippled outwards, and experts several hundred li away immediately retreated, avoiding the sharp radiance. In the battle, the two of them stood in the air. Suddenly, a huge collapsed mountain came crashing down from the 9 heavens. The pressure of Mount Tai made it impossible for anyone to dodge. Ning Chun and Jun Wentian raised their heads. Their pupils constricted as they simultaneously struck out with their palms, which landed on the mountain with a loud boom. The mountain trembled, pushed by a huge force, once again rushing into the sky, flying into the clouds. In the blink of an eye, the two silhouettes below once again rose up. Their divine weapons clashed as their palms and fists collided. Fresh blood dripped down, and sweat flew everywhere. Since the start of the battle, both of their bodies had been severely exhausted. Victory or defeat was only a matter of time. It's about to end. Prepare to attack. Outside the battle, Jia Tiance looked at the battle before him and said calmly, "Yes." The Moonweaver Maiden and Bai Wangran acknowledged the order in a low voice. They focused their energy and prepared to attack. In the horizon, the void shook, and a barefoot beautiful figure in a blue dress walked out. Her blood-red hair fluttered in the wind, and her aura did not lose out to the two protectors at all. On the other side, the expressions of the Yama Kings from the underworld also became serious. In the lead, the red-clothed Yama King surged with demonic chi, preparing for the upcoming battle. Everyone was about to take action. Below, the two people in the battle were completely focused, as if they were unaware of what was happening outside the battle. In the sky, the mountain fell again. As the two exchanged blows, they struck out with their palms at the same time, causing the mountain to tremble. When their palms collided, both of them retreated 100 jong. Their gazes met, and although there was sympathy, there was even more coldness and killing intent. No matter how satisfying the battle is, there will be a time when it ends. Pay attention, the next move will determine the victor. With a shout, Jun Wentian took a step forward. Instantly, demonic chi surged, and a strange light spread out from his body. Amidst the roaring thunder, an ancient power rapidly awakened, shaking the heavens and the earth. On the other side of the battle, Ning Chun stood quietly, looking forward. A brilliant light flashed in his eyes. The moment he had been waiting for had finally arrived. Taisher entered the ground, and the sword intent stopped. Ning Chun calmed his chi and shouted. In an instant, red light filled the sky and entered his body. The 5 scrolls opened, and the life scroll activated. Heaven, earth, nothingness, and spirit once again evolved into the scene of creation. The two had pushed their cultivation to the limit, and victory would be decided the moment they made their move. Outside the battle, the expressions of all the powerhouses became serious, and they prepared to take action. In the battle, among the demonic eyes that filled the sky, a faint demonic eye opened. In an instant, a strange light pierced through the world, appearing to destroy the heavens and the earth. In the face of life and death, in the moment of crisis, Ning Chen's body flourished with red light. The phoenix wings on his back unfurled, and he quickly retreated. The strange light pierced through his body, bringing with it a waterfall of blood. Ning Chen endured his heavy injuries and activated the 5 scrolls, forcefully stopping the destructive aura that pierced through his body. In the next moment, a shocking scene occurred. In the vision of the 5 scrolls, the destructive light's momentum stopped, and an instant later, it turned back. Before anyone could react to this unexpected scene, the strange light broke through the demonic aura and attacked its master. With a groan, blood spurted out of Jun Wentian's chest. He staggered and was heavily injured. Clang! 3 blades stabbed into the ground, supporting his unstable body. Jun Wentian looked up to the sky and laughed. What a good 9th son of Maha's sect. Delightful, delightful. Kill. Outside the battle, Jia Tiance coldly ordered. Moonweaver and Bai Wangran accepted the order, and their figures flashed, flying toward the distant battle. In the void, the demonic butterfly flew through the air, moving toward the battle. The demonic palace moved, and on the other side, the Yama Kings of the underworld moved as well, rushing toward the battle. Heavily injured, Ning Chen used his sword to prop himself up. He glanced at the first protector of the demonic palace in front of him, and a smile that no one could understand appeared on his face. Many thanks, Jun Wentian. Ning Chen spoke softly. He took a step forward and leaped into the 9 heavens. He caught the falling mountain and threw it towards the 2 protectors who were rushing over. Useless struggle. Moon Weaver snorted coldly. With a wave of her hand, the moon-inverted water moon was unsheathed, and a dazzling light filled the eyes. A sword slashed the mountain. Boom. With a terrifying collision, the sword light slashed the mountain, and its momentum did not stop, continuing forward. Ningchen swung his sword to block, but his heavily injured body could not withstand it. With a loud tremor, his body flew dozens of feet away. Demonic body, I'll leave the rest to you. After sending this message, Ningchen did not delay any longer. He used the momentum to leap and rush into the distance. Outside the battle, under the Yama King mask, the demonic body nodded slightly and replied. Today's situation was settled, and all that was left was to wait for the results. The source of Zi's injury is that destructive energy. Whoever started it should untie it. We don't know how to remove it, but that doesn't mean that Jun Wentian doesn't know either. I will think of a way to make Jun Wentian suffer the same injury. What you need to do is follow him and find a solution as soon as possible. Chapter 908. Killing intent filled the wilderness as streams of light flashed past. In order to eliminate future troubles, the generals of Demon Palace quickly pursued the heavily injured 9th disciple of Mahis Gate. From the rising sun to the middle of the day, the pursuit did not stop. 2 protectors of Demon Palace, 3 true realm demon generals, and thousands of demon army experts continuously swept past the sky. On the 12 peaks of Heavenly Way, black and white chess pieces filled the sky, forming an inescapable net that blocked off the 5 Yamakings. Within the inescapable net, the demonic butterfly blocked off the 5 Yamakings with her sleeves fluttering in the wind. Flower burial tears drew a beautiful black light. With the help of the black and white chess pieces, she was actually able to fight evenly with the 5 Yamakings. Outside the battle, Jie Tiance raised his hand to set up a formation. The black and white chess pieces continuously landed, using the heaven and earth as a chessboard, trapping the 5. 15 minutes, 30 minutes. Time slowly passed in the battle. The 5 became more and more anxious. Knowing that their lives were in danger, they wanted to escape but they could not. Close to 2 hours later, Jie Tiance looked at the blazing sun in the sky, waved his hand to disperse the chess pieces, and said calmly, "Retreat." In the battle, demonic butterflies' twin blades appeared, the ultimate martial light illuminating the world, shook off the battle with one move, then took a step forward and escaped. Falling Star drew his bow. Just as he was about to shoot, Mu Qianshang's figure flashed from the side, raising his hand to stop the former. "Help, knowing your life is important." With that, streams of light broke through the sky. The 5 Yamakings' figures quickly flew into the distance. In the sky above the ruins of Tianwei's 12 peaks, Jie Tiance stood quietly, watching the 5 leave, but did not stop them. So much time had passed, they could not catch up even if they wanted to. The peaks returned to the deep valley. The slanting moon sprinkled a cold waterfall on the ground. Blood-stained figures flashed past, holding on for a day, unable to move forward. Behind them, streams of light flew past. In the lead, Bai Wangran and Moon Weaver came with killing intent, followed by 3 demon generals, followed by thousands of demon army. The demon chi that covered the sky and moon, leaving no room for escape. Not running anymore, then this will be your burial ground. Bai Wangran took a step forward, looking at the blood-stained young man in the valley, and said coldly. Ningchen raised his hand and condensed his essence, suppressing the heavy injury on his chest. His gaze swept across the devil army that was charging at him from all directions. "You haven't been able to kill me so many times. Today will be the same. In the past you were still useful, so it wasn't impossible to let you live. But now, your value has been exhausted, and only death awaits you." The Moon Weaver maiden waved her hand and a sword appeared. She reversed the water and the moon, revealing a divine blade. She drew her sword and moved forward. The divine weapon attacked. Genesis Supreme and the inverted water moon clashed, starlight scattering in all directions. Under the cold moon, The two swords glowed with boundless killing intent. Outside the battlefield, Bai Wangran stood quietly, watching the battle. After a while he said, "You guys go as well?" "Yes." The three demon generals behind him respectfully accepted the order. Their figures flashed past, demonic energy boundless as they began to attack again. Ning Chun brandished his sword and knocked away the person in front of him. Then he clenched his left hand and unleashed the immortal trapping blade. The immortal sword pierced the ground, and red light rose. In an instant, the battlefield was filled with sword light, and everything within 100 miles was turned into hell. Kill. Killing intent surged on the faces of the three demon generals, and the halberds in their hands danced like dragons. The three of them worked together and pressed forward. Outside the battlefield, Bai Wangran waved his hand again. Instantly, the army surged forward like a tidal wave. Genesis Supreme swung his sword, and a waterfall of blood splattered. Ning Chun did not want to drag the battle out, so he used all his killing moves. No one could stop him. In the deep valley dyed red, corpses piled up into mountains. The sound of slaughter was endless. The Moonweaver Maiden's sword moved with great momentum, and every move was majestic. The three demon generals worked together to drag the battle out, not giving Ning Chun any time to catch his breath. Ning Chun swung his sword, advancing step by step. Even though his true essence was about to run out and his body was heavily injured, his proud battle spirit would not allow him to fall. Respectable expert, choosing to be buried here can be considered as not a disgrace to your glorious life. Outside the battlefield, Bai Wangran flipped his palm, and a fierce wind blew and waves surged. With his heavy injuries, his reaction was already slow. Ning Chun came back to his senses and swung his sword to block, but he was slightly slower. The heavy palm landed on his body, and with a thump, his body flew back dozens of feet. Ugh! The tip of his sword stabbed into the ground, stopping his retreat. Ning Chun vomited blood, dyeing the ground in front of him red. After so many battles, his body was close to running dry. Ning Chun stood there quietly, calming down for a moment. Something's wrong. Just as she was about to advance, she suddenly stopped. The Moonweaver Maiden looked at the figure in front of her, an intense unease rising in her heart. In the blink of an eye, Bai Wangran and the three demon generals arrived, all of them using their killing moves to end this long battle. "If you want to take my life, then pay with your life," Ning Chun softly roared, his eyes shining with dazzling light. With a flip of his palm, he refined yin and yang. Where the world was created, endless primal chaos appeared, and shocking phenomena appeared in the world. In a flash, thunder roared in the 9 heavens, causing gods and ghosts to tremble in fear. Boundless wind and snow rapidly spread outwards. Within the wind and snow, Sui stood high in the air. She released all of her cultivation, using the last of her strength to condense the strongest move she had ever used in her life. Immediately, 1,000 miles of ice froze over and 10,000 miles of snow fell down. 4 scrolls together, lifeless heaven and earth. The world creation move, endless destruction. At this moment, in the deep valley, a terrifying scene occurred. Waves of snow swallowed the world, and everything within 1,000 miles was instantly frozen, turning into an icy hell. In the center of the battle, Bai Wangran and the three demon generals were the first to bear the brunt. Immediately, their bodies were frozen, swallowed by the ice and snow. Dozens of feet away, the Moonweaver Maiden swung her sword to block the heavenly might. She retreated, her mouth red. The majestic move swallowed the heavens, the earth, the rivers and the mountains. After one move, the scene of a frozen hell filled the eyes, shocking everyone. Damn it! Within the frozen statue, a gale swept through, shattering the bindings. Bai Wangran's figure flew out, and his palm landed on the former's chest again. With a thump, blood sprayed out like rain. 100 feet away, Sui stopped herself, but she did not fall. She stood proudly. The Moonweaver Maiden and Bai Wangran looked at the blood-covered figure 100 feet away, but the fear in their eyes did not lessen. As long as he did not die, they could not be at ease. Cough cough. Violent coughs rang out in the valley. Ning Chun's sword stabbed into the ground, blood flowing out. He panted heavily, one sound after another, as if he would collapse at any moment. The end had come. The valley was so quiet that it made one's heart palpitate. The frozen figures and thousands of demon generals had all been buried. 100 feet away, the Moon Weaver Maiden and Bai Wangran looked ahead with serious expressions. For a moment, no one dared to step forward. There's only one move left. Are you not coming? Hoarsely speaking, Ningchen smiled tiredly at the two. He staggered and walked out of the valley. The Moon Weaver Maiden and Bai Wangran looked at each other, then followed at a distance. The end was set. Now, there was no need for them to take this risk and be half dead by the person in front of them. The cold moon shone on the valley, covering everything in silver. The blood-covered knowing destiny walked in front. Blood dripped from the sword in his hand. Although he was at the end of his life, he still intimidated the two demon palace protectors. They did not dare to take half a step forward. Outside the valley, Ningchen stopped. He turned and looked at the blood-stained path behind him. He said softly, "Look, the beautiful scenery of the world is always the most beautiful when life is withering. Can you see it clearly?" The Moon Weaver Maiden and Bai Wangran frowned. The fear in their hearts did not lessen. They cautiously watched the person's final counterattack. Still not going to make a move? Your Saint Arbiter should be waiting anxiously. Ningchen looked at the two in front of him. In this stalemate, the Moon Weaver Maiden and Bai Wangran were afraid. Neither of them wanted to be the scapegoat. For a moment, they stood there with gloomy expressions, neither advancing nor retreating. What a pity. Ningchen sighed softly. He did not wait any longer. He turned and continued forward. The two focused their eyes. Just as they were about to chase after him, a purple light suddenly descended from the sky. With a bang, it fell down. The purple cloud sword appeared. A delicate and beautiful figure walked out. Her cultivation was infinitely close to the fourth realm. The entire valley shook. "None of you are allowed to touch him," the girl said coldly. Outside the valley, a gratified smile appeared at the corner of Ningchen's mouth. Then his body fell straight down. She had finally made it. The girl moved and arrived in front of the valley in an instant. She supported the heavily injured man and said with a slightly dissatisfied tone, "Why didn't you wait for me? You clearly sensed me." "You're not fit to kill," Ningchen said weakly. He could no longer maintain his chaotic consciousness and fainted. A man gently picked him up. She looked coldly at the two in the valley and said, "I'm taking him away. You're not allowed to follow." The Moon Weaver Maiden and Bai Wangran's expressions darkened. Just as they were about to attack, the clothes on their chests suddenly tore apart. They were just a hair's breadth away. They had no words to warn them. The two of them narrowed their eyes. When did this happen? Outside the valley, a man took a step forward with the person in her arms and leaped into the distance. "Go back and report to the Saint Minister." The unfamiliar expert was shockingly powerful. The Moon Weaver Maiden and Bai Wangran suppressed the waves in their hearts. Their figures flashed and disappeared into the night. The atmosphere in the Demon Palace's sacred hall was abnormally oppressive. Jietiance, dressed in a blue brocade robe, stood in the hall. He looked at the two kneeling in front of him coldly. 3 demon generals for 1,000 demon soldiers, and the two of you, but he was still rescued. Do you still have the face to come back? Jietiance said coldly. The Moon Weaver Maiden and Bai Wangran lowered their heads, not daring to say a word. The result was already decided. Knowing that it was useless to bicker, Jietiance suppressed the anger in his heart and said, "Describe that woman's characteristics in detail." The Moon Weaver Maiden looked up and said seriously, "Saint Minister, the sword in that woman's hand is the purple cloud sword of the Divine Armament Peak's Divine Armament." Jietiance frowned slightly. He raised his hand and pointed at the Divine Armament. In the void, the heavenly curtain appeared. Dense mist floated and traced back to the source. "It's her." After a long time, Jietiance waved his hand and dispersed the heavenly curtain. He said, 100 years ago, a woman beside the 9th son of the Mahis sect was taken away by the Divine Armament on the ancient Road of the Stars. At that time, this caused quite a stir among the star venerables of the various domains. The one who stopped you should be her. The Moon Weaver Maiden and Bai Wangran heard this and were shocked. How could it be? 100 years ago, This woman was still unknown. How could she be so powerful in just 100 years? There's no need to be surprised. There are many geniuses in the world, and some people are always easy to understand. This woman is one of them. Jie Tian said calmly. He looked at the two people in front of him and said, "You two should heal your wounds as soon as possible. The Devil Lord is getting impatient. After the 100-day agreement, we'll immediately attack Buddha Mountain." Chapter 909. At the border of the 3 domains, the 10 halls of the underworld. One by one, the kings of hell gathered in the King of Hell's hall. They took off their masks and revealed their true appearances. "Is there still no news of Zhiming?" Mu Qianshang asked. "No." Jian Er shook his head. Qi Yanxia and Luo Xingqian just sent back a message. When they chased into a deep valley, they only found thousands of corpses of the devil army. From the frozen aura, it should be Zhiming's doing. However, Zhiming has completely disappeared from there. Could he have been brought back to the Devil Palace by the 2 guardians? Yishuan Miao asked. "I don't think so," Mu Qianshang denied. With Zhiming's temperament, even if he died in battle, he would not be captured by the Devil Palace. Moreover, Zhiming is cautious by nature. He must have a backup plan. It's just that we don't know about it. What about his devil body? After the battle ended, there was no trace of it. He also did not say anything. What is Zhiming thinking? What is the purpose of this battle? Yishuan Miao frowned. Everyone was silent. They also did not understand why Zhiming would challenge Jun Wentian as the 9th disciple of the Mahis sect. In this battle, other than the result of both sides suffering, there was no other result. "I think I know why Zhiming did this." At this moment, Luo Fei, who had been silent, said softly, "He is looking for a way to heal Zi." Hearing this, everyone frowned slightly, not understanding the meaning of his words. "Did you notice that at the end of the battle, Zhiming forcefully reversed Jun Wentian's move and suffered a backlash? Zhiming has the speed of the phoenix and was prepared in advance. Logically speaking, he should have been able to avoid that move. There is only one explanation for his actions. He did it on purpose," Luo Fei explained. "It is indeed possible." Yishuan Miao and the others nodded. "But why?" At this point, everyone's expression suddenly changed. They realized that it was actually this method. "It's too risky." Mu Qianshang's face darkened. "It's not like he doesn't know Jun Wentian's strength. If he is careless, he will be doomed eternally. But this is the only way." Sword 2 sighed softly and said, Knowing Destiny's temperament, it's absolutely impossible for him to sit back and watch Zi walk on the edge of life and death. Then can he play around with his own life?" Mu Qianshang said solemnly. "Moreover, he didn't even discuss such a big matter with us before taking action. Does he not trust us that much?" "It's not that I don't trust you, it's that I can't tell you." On the other side, Luoshan said softly, "If he did, would you have allowed him to do so?" Mu Qianshang clenched his fists tightly, not replying. "What's done is done. It's useless to talk about it. We'd better find a way to find Zhiming as soon as possible. His devil body must be secretly following Jun Wentian. As long as we find the devil body, we'll know whether Zhiming is safe or not," Luoshan suggested. "It's useless." Madame Luofei shook her head. She softly said, "Since Knowledge Destiny made such arrangements, he must have given the Chaos Scroll to the demon body, with the Chaos Scroll helping him conceal his aura. Unless he wants to show himself, no one in the world will be able to find him. Actually, you don't have to be so worried." Below, Aaron Mingwang looked at everyone with a smile. The 100-day agreement between young Master Ning and the Devil Palace is coming soon. Once the agreement is reached, Buddha Mountain will definitely face another great calamity. Whether young Master Ning will protect Buddha Mountain or not, as long as he's still alive, he will definitely come back in advance to make arrangements. That makes sense. Jian Er nodded. With Knowledge Destiny's personality, he would definitely not let Buddha Mountain be destroyed. At least, he would come back to make some arrangements. Rumble. At this moment, above the 10 halls, the divine restriction suddenly vibrated. It was so clear that everyone present was shocked. Is knowledge destiny back? Mu Qianshang stood up and asked. It's possible. Jian Er softly replied. If Luo Xingqian and the others return, they will definitely inform us in advance. Before he finished speaking, a beautiful figure appeared in front of King Yanluo's palace. In an instant, she rushed into the main hall. When Mu Qianshang, Jian Er, and Madame Luofei saw her, they were all shocked. They cried out involuntarily, "A man!" The most unbelievable figure made the hearts of the people from the divine prefecture ripple. Why was a man here? He is injured now and is temporarily in seclusion to recuperate. So he asked me to come back and make arrangements for Buddha Mountain. A man looked at the people in front of her and said softly, "How are his injuries?" Mu Qianshang came back to his senses and asked, "Very serious. However, he has the origin of the divine tree protecting him. His life is not in danger. Don't worry." A man replied. Who is this lady? Hearing that knowledge destiny was fine, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Madame Luotian and Princess Erin smiled and asked. Her name is Aman. Madame Luofei stepped forward and pulled Aman over. She introduced her to her friends from outside the divine prefecture. She is knowledge destiny's confidant. If knowledge destiny listens to anyone now, then this girl is definitely one of the few. Hearing the former's words, Aman did not refute. She smiled gently and nodded to everyone. She looked at the person beside her again and asked, Sister Luofei, where is Yin? I heard from Ningqian that she also came from the central province. Madame Luofei pointed to the side hall not far away and said, I heard that something happened to her master. She hid in her room and cried several times. No one can persuade her. Since you are here, help persuade her. A man nodded lightly and said, I will go see Iner first. I will not disturb your discussion. After saying that, a man did not stay any longer. Leaving everyone looking at each other, she walked towards the side hall. Don't look anymore. This girl's thoughts are always jumping around. Even knowledge destiny can't keep up, let alone us. Madame Luofei said helplessly. Yixuan Miao and the others nodded. She was indeed special. She left before finishing 3 sentences. Moreover, it was obvious at a glance that she wanted to see Yin. And was not using any excuses. In the side hall, in a tightly closed room, the sound of deliberately suppressed sobbing could be faintly heard. After 100 years, it was still as familiar as when she was a little girl 100 years ago. A man stepped forward and gently knocked on the door. She said softly, Iner, can I come in? After saying that, there was a moment of silence. Then the door was opened with a creak. Iner, whose face was covered in tears, looked at the woman in front of her in shock. She immediately threw herself into the woman's arms and cried. Little Master's wife, something happened to Master. Be good. Don't cry. Your master is fine. I just came back from your master's place. A man patted the head of the woman in her arms and softly said. When Iner heard this, she raised her head and reached out to wipe away her tears. Really? Is Master really all right? A man nodded. He was injured and won't be able to return for a while. So he asked me to come back and tell everyone that he is safe. At the same time, I will also tell them about the arrangements for the upcoming battle with the Buddhists. If he doesn't come back, can the Buddhists still survive? Iner asked, sobbing. They can't. A man shook her head and softly replied. Chapter 9-10. At the intersection of the 3 domains was a vast continent. On the continent stood the 10 Yama halls, towering into the starry sky. In the Yama hall of the 10 Yama halls, the 10 Yama halls were discussing the great task of resisting the demons. From dawn to dusk, they were arguing endlessly. The upcoming battle would determine the survival of Buddhism. Once the all-heaven starfield was unified by the demon palace, the resources of the entire starfield would belong to the demon palace. The consequences would be unimaginable. However, to everyone's helplessness, the destruction of Buddhism was already an irreversible matter. The 4 protectors of the demon palace were all true experts of the world. Adding on the tens of thousands of demon soldiers, they could be said to be unstoppable. Apart from us, the great powers of the other starfields do not wish to provoke the demon palace. Although it is not wrong to play safe, if this continues, the demon palace's power will only grow stronger and stronger. At that time, no one will be able to stop them. Mu Qianshang looked at the crowd and said solemnly, "Knowing destiny is not here, Zi is injured, and we cannot expose our identities. Our strength is limited. It is already difficult for us to deal with the protectors of the demon palace, not to mention the demon palace's army of 100,000. Right now, the armies from all directions are gathered. No matter how many people we dispatch, it will only be a drop in the bucket." Yixuanmiao said seriously. "Although that is the case, we cannot sit by and watch Buddhism be destroyed. Otherwise, all our efforts would have been in vain," said Luofei. "Then dispatch 4 Yama Kings who specialize in speed. If it is truly impossible, they can still escape in time and reduce the casualties," suggested Yixuanmiao. 4. Isn't that too few? Adding on Hua Zhongdia, the 4 protectors of the demon palace are now even stronger than before. We do not know if Jun Wentian will fight, or if we dispatch several more Yama Kings, just in case, said Jian Er. Actually, you and I both know that dispatching several Yama Kings will not change the current situation too much. Thus, I do not recommend exposing too much of our strength, said Yixuanmiao with a serious expression. While everyone was talking, in the side chamber, there were 2 young women who seemed to be of similar age, sitting on the bed and chatting with each other. Under the illumination of the lantern light, one was cunning, the other pure. Their temperaments were distinct and equally outstanding. "Little mistress, aren't you going out? They should be discussing how to help Buddha Mountain right now." Yin took a piece of pastry from the small plate in front of her, and put it in her mouth, speaking incoherently. A man also picked up a piece of pastry from the small plate, sniffed it, and stuffed it into her mouth. She said softly, "It's not time yet." "Your master still wants me to wait for someone." "Who?" Yin took another piece and asked as she ate. "You know him?" A man was eating a pastry when she suddenly looked over and said, "She's here." "Who is it?" "Little mistress, you haven't told me." Seeing the former get off the bed, Yin also jumped down and hurriedly asked, "Oh, Queen Qi, your master said that Queen Qi will definitely return before the war between the Buddhists begins. He told me to wait for her." A man replied and strode towards the main hall. Yin didn't quite understand what he was saying. She jogged over to join in the fun. In the main hall of the King of Hell, all the kings of hell also felt the tremors of the divine restriction. They all stood up and looked towards the front of the hall. Under everyone's gazes, a beautiful woman dressed as a man walked over. She looked at everyone in the hall and smiled. "Sorry I'm late." "You're not late." A man walked over from the side hall and said softly, "You came at the right time. Your Highness Queen Qi, please take a seat. Ningchen has something to ask of you." Seeing the woman walking over, a strange look flashed through Lin Yuzhen's eyes. The peak of the true realm. It didn't seem like it. Half a step into the 4th realm. It also didn't seem like it. Such a powerful aura. This woman seemed to be infinitely close to the 4th realm. Knowing that everyone who could come here was absolutely trustworthy, Lin Yuzhen didn't ask any more questions. She walked to the table and sat down to wait for the arrangements. Ningchen is injured and can't fight for the time being. However, the King of Hell has to be present for the Battle of Buddha Mountain. Otherwise, it will raise suspicions. Your Highness Queen Qi, it's not difficult for you to dress as a woman. I'll leave the position of King of Hell to you for the time being. A man looked at Queen Qi and said softly. A serious look flashed through Lin Yuzhen's eyes. She asked, "How are his injuries? Are they serious?" "His life isn't in danger." A man truthfully said, "His physique is special. There won't be any major problems. Your Highness, please don't worry." Lin Yuzhen nodded. "I haven't asked for your name yet. My name is Aman. I also come from the Eastern Divine Prefecture of the Inner Realm." A man said softly. The Inner Realm is truly a mystical land. There are actually so many geniuses of martial arts. Lin Yuzhen sighed as she looked at the people in front of her. Your Highness is too kind. A man smiled softly. We can accept your Highness's words, but Ningchen isn't worthy. Lin Yuzhen was startled. For a moment, she didn't react. Your Highness, you should get used to this girl's way of speaking. She never lies and her thoughts are always jumpy. It's normal that you're not used to it, Luo Fei said. Lin Yuzhen regained her senses and nodded. She was indeed not used to it. The people around Jiming were all unique. However, she liked this girl's aura. It was fresh and clean. It was as if she could see through her at a glance. Ah man, didn't you say that Ningchen has other arrangements? Can you be more specific? Luo Fei looked at the girl beside her and asked softly. A man nodded. Other than Ningchen's position being temporarily replaced by Prince Qi, we still need to dispatch 5 more Yama Kings. Mu Qianshang, Luo Xingchen, Qi Yanxia, Yishuan Miao, and Luo Shen. The others will stay behind to guard. Aren't we sending a few more people? After all, we don't know if Jun Wentian will fight, Mu Qianshang asked. Jun Wentian won't show up. A man said softly. Ning Chun said that he can't fight even with the protection of the divine tree. Jun Wentian is the same. In addition, his demon body has been following him. If anything happens, he will inform us in advance. Hearing this, everyone nodded. This was good. If Jun Wentian didn't fight, the pressure on them would be greatly reduced. There's one more thing. If Butterfly in the Flower fights, how should we deal with it? Among us, only Ji Ming has fought with her. How strong is she now? Yishuan Miao asked seriously. At least, she won't lose to Moon Weaver and Bai Wangran. A man said softly. Ning Chen said that senior sister Butterfly didn't use her full strength in the previous battle. At this point, a man looked at Luo Shen and said softly, Sister Luo Shen, I'll have to trouble you this time. Senior sister Butterfly in the Flower cultivates the 9 Serenities heaven-devouring demon scripture. Once she uses it, she will forcefully devour the source of others. So you must be careful. Luo Shen heard this and a strange light flashed in her eyes. 9 Serenities heaven-devouring demon scripture. It wasn't difficult to explain why Butterfly in the Flower had such a change. Oh right, Ningchen asked me to give these 2 swords to Prince Qi. As she spoke, a man waved her right hand. 2 streams of light flew out, one black and one green, and landed in front of Prince Qi. Prince Qi shouldn't need to fight in this battle. After the previous 2 battles, the Devil Palace already knows the strength of the Yama Kings. As long as Prince Qi doesn't take the initiative to fight, the Devil Palace will not provoke him first, a man said. Lin Yuzhen took the 2 divine weapons and nodded, remembering A Man's words. Is there anything else? Luo Fei asked. A Man nodded. With a flip of her left hand, 2 letters appeared. One of them flew up and landed in front of everyone. These 2 letters, one is for everyone and the other is for Buddha Mountain's Heavenly Buddha Lord. Ningchen didn't let me see it, so I don't know the contents. A man said warmly. Everyone looked at each other when they heard this. At the front, Mu Qianshang waved his hand and took the letter. After reading it, he fell silent and passed the letter to the next person. No wonder Ji Ming didn't let A Man see this letter. This arrangement was indeed the best way, but it was also the cruelest way. Behind him, Ener stood on her tiptoes, wanting to see the contents of the letter, but A Man gently hit her head and said softly, Your master said that you can't see this letter either. Ener heard this and pouted. She knew that Ningchen was lying to her when he said that she was a secret weapon. It sounded nice, but he didn't want her to know anything. Everyone, the contents of this letter are Ningchen's arrangements for the Battle of Buddha Mountain. If anyone has any objections, we can discuss them in detail. I'm going to Buddha Mountain to give this letter to Heavenly Buddha Lord and ask him some questions. After saying this, A Man got up and didn't say another word. She glanced at the girl behind her and said softly, Ina, are you going? Yes. Ina nodded vigorously. Then let's go now, A Man gently said. She took Er's hand and walked out of the hall. In front of everyone's eyes, the 2 of them walked out of the hall. After several breaths, they disappeared into the moonlight. Outside the thousands of meteors, the divine restriction opened, and the two of them walked out. This was the first time they had come out in over 10 months. Einar was in a good mood. She stretched and hugged the arm of the woman beside her. She complained coquettishly, "Little mistress is the best. Ningchen never takes me when he goes out. It's so boring to be alone. Your master is busy. Furthermore, he always has important things to do when he goes out. He's afraid that it'll be dangerous if he takes you with him. Your master really dotes on you," said a man gently. Einar pouted and said, "I know, but every time I say that I want to help him, he always brushes me off. Little mistress, Ningchen listens to you the most. Can you tell him that I really want to help him?" "All right." A man nodded. "I'll tell him. Furthermore, in a few days your big sister Qing Ning will be here. If we manage him together, he won't dare to be disobedient. Your big sister Qing Ning is stronger than me. If Ningchen is disobedient, I'll have her hit him." "Hee, all right." Einar smiled happily. She didn't dare to hit her master. However, with her little mistress and big sister Qing Ning present, she could use their power to intimidate others. As the two of them spoke, they moved faster and faster, getting closer and closer to Buddha Mountain. The 100-day agreement was about to arrive. The final battle was not only related to the survival of Buddha Mountain, but also the future of the Great War against the devils. This battle was extremely important. On Buddha Mountain, the heavenly Buddha Lord, who had been cultivating the Buddhist purification technique day and night, opened his eyes. Seeing the two women walking over, a strange light flashed in his eyes. "Buddha Lord." A man stepped forward and bowed respectfully. She softly said, "Ningchen sent me to deliver a letter to Buddha Lord." Chapter 9:11. Miss Man, may this old monk ask about your identity? Heavenly Buddha Lord asked after reading the letter on Buddha Mountain. Princess of Man Chao of the Eastern Continent. A man answered truthfully. Has the King of Hell come again? Heavenly Buddha Lord did not look too surprised and continued to ask. Yes. A man nodded and said. In the end, Ningchen and the strong cultivators of the Divine Prefecture sent him back to the 7 extinction sky realm. Ningchen has been stained with millions of lives because of this catastrophe, and he still can't free himself. I see. Heavenly Buddha Lord sighed softly and said, Who is qualified to judge the merits and demerits of saving the world? Miss Man, this old monk will fully cooperate with Benefactor Ning's request in the letter. Thank you, Buddha Lord. A man bowed respectfully and said, One more question. Miss Man, is there a Buddhist sect in the inner world? Heavenly Buddha Lord asked. Yes. A man nodded and said, The homeland of Western Buddha is mostly filled with Buddhist cultivators. Even though they don't have a supreme expert like the Buddhist Lord for now because of the Nether King barrier, it won't be long before numerous extraordinary experts of the Buddhist sect appear in the West. Then this old monk can rest assured. Heavenly Buddha Lord's old face showed a touch of relief and nodded. Buddha Mountain could be destroyed, but Buddhism's inheritance could not be broken. Otherwise he would be a sinner of Buddhism. Buddha Lord, Ningchen also has a question that he wants to ask. A man said. Please ask. Heavenly Buddha Lord replied. The Buddhas of Buddha Mountain should be above the 4th realm. Why have they not helped Buddhism all this time? A man asked softly. Gods have their world, Buddhas have their world, just like the 7 extinction sky realm where Pluto is. My Buddha is also in a similar realm. It is almost impossible for him to come to the human world. Heavenly Buddha Lord answered truthfully. Above the 4th realm, can one really see what will happen 1,000 years later? A man did not understand. Miss Man, you should be asking about Miss Xia Xinyu who passed away. Since my Buddha said it is possible, then it is really possible. If a similar flower blooms in the world, it depends on whether Benefactor Ning can find it. Heavenly Buddha Lord said calmly. Thank you, Buddha Lord, for answering my question. I have no other questions. A man bowed again. Child, what do you want to ask? Heavenly Buddha Lord asked with a gentle smile when he saw the girl beside a man. Buddha Lord. Einar obediently took a step forward and bowed. Can you help me calculate when I will be able to awaken my heaven speaker origin? I want to help my master. Heavenly Buddha Lord smiled and said, a pure child's heart is the most beautiful thing in the world. Little girl, you don't have to worry. The heaven speaker is the spokesperson of heaven and earth. When one heaven speaker disappears, another will soon appear. Generally, this time will not exceed 360 cycles. The reason why you have not awakened yet is because your body is not able to withstand the power of the heaven speaker. This matter cannot be solved in a hurry. Your master is the best master in the world. You just have to listen to his arrangements. One day, the glory of the heaven speaker will return to this world. I understand. Thank you, Buddha Lord. Ina replied obediently. Is there anything else you want to ask? Heavenly Buddha Lord smiled. No. Ina shook her head. Be content. Don't be greedy, good child. Heavenly Buddha Lord said kindly. Buddha Lord, we have already delivered the message. We won't disturb you any further. A man spoke softly from the side. Heavenly Buddha Lord nodded and said, when you go back, please tell benefactor Ning that I will have to trouble him with this demonic calamity. I will. A man replied and did not say anything else. She took the girl beside her and stepped forward. Her figure soared into the sky and flew away. After the two left, Heavenly Buddha Lord looked at the thousands of disciples on Buddha Mountain and said, all of you leave. On Buddha Mountain, thousands of white-robed novice monks trembled and opened their eyes to look at Heavenly Buddha Lord in the distance. At the same time, the 10 kings of hell walked out one by one and looked into the distance with serious expressions. Zhi Ming's action was indeed shocking and abnormally bold. Aaron, your task from now on will be heavy, Luo Fei said in front of the rotating wheel King's Hall. If you want to become a Buddha, you must bear this responsibility. In front of King Dusher's hall, King Aaron smiled brightly. To her, this was not a burden, but the best opportunity. Her guardian had given her the opportunity to become a Buddha. Outside the 10 kings of hell, in a place separated by Jiyuan, in a world of ice and snow, a plain-clothed figure sat cross-legged between heaven and earth, surrounded by wind and snow, day and night, recovering from his injuries. A few days later, outside the world of ice and snow, 2 beautiful figures walked over and stopped 100 feet away. Ina wanted to go forward but was stopped by a man who shook her head gently, indicating not to disturb. Did Heavenly Buddha Lord agree? At this moment, a familiar voice sounded between heaven and earth. He agreed. A man nodded. This time around, I've let the Buddhist sect down. As soon as the voice fell, between heaven and earth, a red light flew out and landed in front of the two. Give this sword to Mu Qianshang. He will know what to do. A man answered softly and reached out to take the sword, saying, rest at ease and recover. Don't worry about Buddhism. Understood. A voice sounded between heaven and earth, continuing, Ina, what's wrong? What's wrong? Who made our little ancestor angry again? You. Ina puffed up her cheeks and said angrily. A soft laugh sounded, saying, all right, Ina, be good. When Master recovers, he will return. At that time, he will accompany our Ina. You must keep your word. Ina said sweetly. You must keep your word. In the snow, Ningchen transmitted. Ina, we won't disturb your master's recovery. Let's go back first. A man said softly. Ina answered obediently, looking at the figure in the snow in front of her with reluctance, and then left with the former. 13 days later, outside Buddha Mountain, 100,000 troops arrived. The 4 armies of the Devil Army had arrived, and in the final battle, Buddha Mountain would be completely destroyed. Devil clouds pressed down, thunder and lightning flashed, and 3 figures descended from the sky, cold killing intent surging and piercing to the bone. By Wang ran Moonweaver Girl, and Butterfly in the Flower appeared. In an instant, the void swirled, and a figure in a blue brocade robe walked out. The Saint of the Devil Palace had personally arrived, and appeared on the battlefield. Kill. With an order, Jietiance waved his right hand, and the final battle between Buddha and Devil began. The 3 protectors accepted the order, and their figures flashed forward, rushing forward. Behind them, 100,000 devil army also moved, following the general to attack Buddha Mountain. On Buddha Mountain, looking at the endless devil army in the sky, Heavenly Buddha Lord's expression did not change at all. He got up and walked forward, and with each step, his appearance began to change, gradually returning to his youth. In front of thousands of devil army, he stood alone without fear. On the platform behind him, a cold wind blew, and a letter floated with the wind. Under the moonlight, the last sentence of the letter was so clear and dazzling. The calamity of the Buddha kingdom is irreversible. For the sake of the great plan of resisting the devil army in the future, please die in peace, Buddha Lord. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.